Good morning, everybody. My name is Peter Kariva. I'm the CEO and president of the Aquarium, but that's not my real identity. My real identity is a scientist, and that's why I'm so happy to be here this morning. I just wanted to say a few things to welcome you as you start the morning and the day. Science is really wonderful and incredibly hard. And that's really what the CELP program is all about. It's wonderful and it's really hard. You know, we live in a time of identities and identity politics. Science is an identity. And let me tell you, for me, I started, shouldn't admit this, but at age 13 in a science fair. It wasn't great for my social life, but it was a great life, sort of life step. I ended up then spending the next 50 years doing science all over the world, 40 different countries and so forth. But what science does is it's not just about the discovery and what it does for society. It's a real community. You can go anywhere in the world, and if you go to a social gathering or an official gathering or something like that, you know how people huddle up. They find people like themselves to talk to when you're in an uncomfortable situation. We all do that. Whether it's a birthday party, a wedding, an official government thing or anything, we find people like ourselves. You go around the world, you get in these events, and I would go huddle with the scientists, and we all felt comfortable. Didn't matter, you know, what our ethnicity, religion, culture, background was. We took great comfort because we shared that curiosity about the world. So it's a wonderful identity to have, and it's actually a wonderful potential career path. And it really does open the doors. I mean, there's almost nothing that opens the doors so internet. And, you know, for you young students here, I'm sure you all want to see the world in a broad way. Science can help you do that more than you can imagine. It could take you all over the world in all sorts of habitats. It's a pretty, you know, I don't want to make a romantic illusion about it, but it really is a pretty exciting, fun career. And it's all about curiosity. And, you know, maybe lawyers and business leaders and politicians might think they're important, but actually it's scientists. And we certainly have the most fun. But it's hard because I'm sure some of you who have already started doing research, I know our CELP Scholars have, it doesn't work, you know. You just have to overcome failure after failure after failure after failure. I had a student that had a book this thick of his rejection letters when he went and applied for jobs. Just made a binder full of them. He's now a full professor at University of Chicago. But that's what makes it so hard and why the community that Allie and you CELP Scholars and I hope you high school students participate in, nobody does it alone. There's no such thing as a lone genius that goes and makes a significant contribution in science. It does not exist. That's a Hollywood story. It just does not exist. And so we need that community. And the last thing I want to say before I turn over to my thank yous is one of the things I get to do here is we have a terrific volunteer program for teens here, and I often get to know them and read their applications to college and read their and help them and write them letters of reference. And just yesterday, I was doing a letter for one of our young volunteers, and she shared with me her college essay about her experience here. And I just really loved the phrase that she put at the end. So I'm going to steal her phrase to what I so much about this program. This was her closing sentence in her college essay, her personal statement. I love the process of turning curiosity into conversation into community. And I told her I wish I had written that sentence. I didn't. But that's really what it's all about. We should have. Oops. What did that happen? So it's time for the thanks. We obviously have to thank the donors, and I think they know that we appreciate them. But I really want to thank the parents. Listen, and the school teachers that are here, because none of these scholars and none of the prospective scholars among the high school students can make it without the teachers and the parents. And I also want to mention, in addition to this list, you know, we did Long Beach Giving, the Long Beach Giving Drive. Never before have we raised even $10,000. This year we featured the scholars, the CELP Scholars. You guys made videos. We posted the videos. You're rock stars. We raised $38,000. Right? And it's not just the big money. The thing that actually most impressed me was the $10 gifts, or 52 gifts online to this thing. And just think, somebody, maybe it was your brother or sister, I don't know, but somebody thought to give $10 to the CELP Scholars. That probably meant something to that person. And that just shows, I mean, scholars, I mean, it's great for your career, but it's really great when you give back to your community. Because science really, the world does not progress without science. There's a lot of things it does not progress without, but one of them is science. And with that, I want to turn it over to Allie.
Good morning. It warms my heart to see every single one of your faces. Thank you for spending Saturday with us. I want to welcome the 2024 cohort of CELP Scholars who have gone through the rite of passage of preparing their lightning talk. I want to thank the alumni who are here, cheering them on and continuing to participate in this program. I want to thank our online audience. I want to thank the selection committee members who are here with us. I want to thank the board and partners who are continuing to show support. I want to have a huge shout out to the Odyssey Pathway from Lakewood High School. Yes! Thank you for choosing to spend Saturday with us. We're going to feed you, so hopefully that helps too. Thank you for being here, and I hope that you are ready for an inspiring morning, because here's what we have planned. Our CELP Scholars have been asked to present a 5-minute lightning talk. Now that might sound, oh, that's no big deal. It's hard. 5 minutes to tell your story. They were challenged to share their science, their story, their inspiration, their aspiration, not everything, but a piece of them to inspire you and to share with you what drives them, and to really hopefully speak to a lot of what PK said about the importance of science. We're going to have 7 of our scholars come up and present to you. At the end of those 7, they will come on up and we will do a Q&A session. And we really encourage you, ask them about their lives. They're sharing something of themselves, and we hope that you really hear them and are inspired by them and ask them more about themselves. We'll then have a quick break where we will set up for our second round, where we'll hear from our 6 scholars. Get ready. We're going to hear from Mariah, Brianna, Carlisle, Andres, Vivian, Natalie, and Yuzuna. They are pumping themselves up. I see they're ready, right? Mariah, are you ready? Come on up. Give her a round of applause.
Good morning. Am I speaking loud enough? Like, is it okay? Thanks, Mom. Good morning, everyone. It's so good to see all the familiar faces, and to all the new faces, hi. I can't wait to connect with some of you guys after my presentation. It's always hard being the first speaker. I think my heart is beating really fast, and I'm so nervous, but I'm trying to just do my best. So if I fumble a couple of times, please just bear with me. Is this the next button? No, it is not. Yeah, okay. Wait, how do I go back? Okay. Anyways, for those of you that don't know me so well, my name is Mariah Cox. I'm a 4th-year undergraduate Spanish major. I also just added biology to my major. So I'm a double major now, and I'm currently doing research in Dr. Pigtran's Fab Lab, so it's functional anatomy and biomechanics. And that's a little bit about me. You can see that I didn't choose to start my presentation with a picture of myself. I actually chose to start my presentation with a picture of fish, a picture of shoaling fish, not to be confused with schooling fish. The difference between schooling and shoaling fish is that shoaling fish, they shoal for social reasons. And schooling fish, they school for biomechanical reasons. They school because it makes swimming easier. It's kind of an aerodynamic thing. But shoaling fish actually choose their shoal. And you can see that amongst the shoaling fish, they don't all look identical, but that's because they chose each other. And they're also not all swimming in the same direction like schooling fish do. And I think with my next slide, I wanted to just say that this was my first shoal. Not many people know this, but I was actually adopted at 5 years old, and so this was the shoal that chose me. And you can see that we all look a little unique, we're all a little different, but we chose each other and we continue to choose each other every day. And I think an important part of success or just happiness, an important part of finding yourself is having a community and having the flexibility and autonomy to choose who you want to be. And I'm so thankful to my first shoal, my family, for allowing me to choose the person that I wanted to be and for giving me room to grow into who I am today. With that being said, believe in you first. I think outside of my shoal, I had a really hard time believing in myself in terms of science, in terms of just life. I was never the most amazing student. I think I was a C, maybe B average on a good day. And that was really hard for me because I knew that I was passionate, I knew that I loved science, and I knew that I was curious. But that didn't always translate well when it came to grades and tests and just fitting in school and high school. It wasn't until I decided to believe in myself that others followed suit. So I want to encourage you guys to really look within yourself and find those things that you are good at and you are passionate about and believe in yourself. I wasn't always a fish girl, a fish science and an ocean science person. I was passionate about other things like soccer and sports and family and art and music. And I think those things allowed me to become a well-rounded scientist. I was able to, in those things, believe in myself and in turn, allow people to believe in me. And I think it wasn't until maybe my last year of high school when I really started to listen to my own advice and believe in myself first that people started to see that I believed in myself and they followed suit. For example, I wasn't going to apply to the CELP Scholar Program because I didn't think that I deserved it, because I didn't believe in myself. But after a little bit of encouragement from my family and just a little bit of soul searching and trying to find those things that I am passionate about and the things that make a scientist, I also want to say that a scientist isn't a person that is good at science. A scientist is a person that's curious and a person that dares to ask questions. So once I was able to confirm that I do those things, I applied to the program and I was able to find my second shoal among the CELP Scholars. I'm really excited to form community with you guys and I'm looking forward to the rest of the year. Today and tomorrow. Today what I'm doing is researching biomechanics and fish feeding. I know it's not too interesting, but bear with me. I like to look at the water flow around fish. It's really physics heavy, but I think it's interesting. It's the great thing about research in ocean science is there's a niche for everyone. So that's what I'm currently doing. I'm also going to be applying to veterinary school later this year. I'm a fourth year, so this is my last year in undergrad, and I'm looking forward to that. And hopefully also do a dual program and get my PhD in some field in biology. I'm not too sure yet, but I'm looking forward to it. And I want to continue doing education in ocean science. I've been lucky enough to connect with the Aquarium after being accepted into the CELP Scholar Program, and looking forward to participating in a few of the community building events. I'm also bilingual, so I really try to advocate for the English and Spanish speaking communities and connect kids to science in that way. And I'm pretty sure that's my whole presentation. Oh, I'm so sorry. But you didn't see that.
Hi. I'm going to put a timer just for myself, if you guys don't mind. Right here, right? Closer. Okay, the clicky thing, right? Play. Okay. Hello, all. My name's Brianna Hernandez. I go by Bree. Most of the science people that I know, they know me as Bree's Cleanup. Yeah, I'll start the show. That's me. So, the little girl with the big blue dreams, okay? Where do I get that from? Okay, so let's start with me growing up. I'm a 90s baby. So I grew up watching The Little Mermaid, the original one. And it was kind of like the opposite for me. You know, she wanted to be on land. I wanted to be where she was. So definitely after after a while, I realized, okay, I don't want to be on land. Okay, so play, right? Let's play again. Okay, so this is me. How did Breeze Cleanup start? To be honest with you, I really wish I got the name of this little boy that was on Long Beach cleaning up. It was 2018, and this little kid came up to me and was like, "Hey, can I throw your trash away?" And I was like, "I could throw it away," but I was like, "Oh, sure, yeah, you know." And then literally after that moment, I could not stop seeing trash everywhere, like everywhere. Like, it's such a problem, right? So like after that kid kind of went on his ways, like disappeared in the wind, I was going in the water with my friends, and literally a plastic bag was, coming up to shore to me, like while I was in the water. So it was coming up to me. So I picked up that bag, started filling it up with the trash because there was so much in the water. So I was able to just stand in the water and like clean up right there. And then it just like kind of stood in my mind, like, okay, this is like a huge problem, right? So with that being said, I couldn't stop seeing trash. So as you can see the first picture here, I'm on my roller skates with a trash bag. And it started with that, like I would go outside and I would just fill up that trash bag and not even a mile. And I just started realizing this is not just an ocean problem. This is a, community issue everywhere, right? So that picture of me with trash on the second one, that was my first beach cleanup in Huntington Beach. The third picture was my first little setup. And then after that, that was just randomly the last picture after 4th of July, and I really just started noticing where there's a lot of people, there's a lot of trash. Simple, but I just got obsessed with it. Okay, so local cleanups. This is what my cleanup would look like just by myself. You could see bucket 1 through 5. I have a lot of pictures in my phone, so I had to like niche it down to, the most visual I could see. It just started off with me just like, first of all, I love being outside. I can't sit still. So roller skating outside and moving really kept my like mood up, and like people are like, "You just want to pick up trash all day?" It's like, yes, it's doing two things for me. It's cleaning my community and also keeping me fit. Yeah. Community unity is key. Making connections, talking to people, hearing their feedback really helped me organize into group cleanups. Like I said, I was doing beach cleanups, but if you can see here in this beautiful picture, skaters here, we got rollerbladers, roller skaters, scooter. Somebody was injured and was on a scooter. We went to LA and cleaned. I started going hiking in that second picture. I just brought a bucket, So definitely I brought my bucket everywhere. Like, this is like every day, obviously. I don't know what I was doing on that last picture down there. But it just became me. Like, I'm going out there and I'm doing it, Let's keep going. Okay, so the pandemic. I know it hit everybody like crazy. I got to like kind of be in my own bubble for a bit and like think, okay, what are we gonna do after the pandemic, right? What are we gonna do? We can't just like stay indoors forever. You would think that there wasn't that much litter out there. There was still a lot. So I kept busy. I filled up that bottle with micro trash in like not even 5 minutes. That one down there is also micro trash, kind of. And then up there, I started inventing things. Had a lot of time on my hands. So I got like a pasta strainer, put it on a stick, and started sifting. Anyway, so the last one over there is skate park cleanups. I really try to keep busy. And my favorite. So I didn't even use my notes. Okay. So in 2022, I kind of took a little bit of a break. 2023 is when I started like coming out with my ideas that I had in my book, right? So here you could see different cleanup organizations that I volunteered with. So it's not just about me, right? It's about connecting with the community. So from the shore to the door. That just like rung in my head as I was like all over the place. And from the mountains to the wetlands to the river, this all going to end up in the ocean, right? We were all underwater. So at one point, I don't want to go off too much on that, but definitely it's a big problem, like everywhere, and we can't escape it. And as young people, as whatever age we are, we need to like really tackle this problem because it's not gonna leave. Like it's gonna be there. So not only is it the beach, it's being in the community garden, getting my hands dirty. Right there down there is really sad. That's our San Gabriel Mountains. Also seen a bear in the trash, which is pretty crazy. I was like standing there like eyeing him down. I had like 2 bags of trash, and I was like, okay, don't kill me. And then over there on the right, that was my last cleanup. And then all the way to the right is someone here from the aquarium. So connecting with others is what I do. I'm not just one person anymore, which is great. Sometimes I was like, I would get really discouraged at first, like, why am I doing this? And okay, I'm kind of going off. Microplastic is obviously a problem. Styrofoam is a horrible problem here in Long Beach. I'm Long Beach focused now. I'm gonna end it. So why do I do what I do? I have a kid who hates trash. He wants to build a machine that cleans up the shore and also go into the ocean. I've been taking him here since he was born, so definitely bringing him here and kind of nerding out with him is pretty cool. So that's why I do it. Thank you guys so much. I'm so happy to be here. That's it.
That's already me. Your own self is your closest friend and greatest enemy. Good morning. My name is Carl, and I am my own creation. So, growing up, I thought, the microphone. I thought being a scientist was the coolest thing anybody could do. And when you're a kid and you think of a scientist, you're like, oh, that's a smart person. That's somebody who is capable, somebody who knows what they're doing. And I did not see myself as that person. I struggled a lot in school. I was a little bit different. I was a little bit, I don't say strange, but there was a lot of circumstances surrounding why I struggled so much in school, and one of those big ones was undiagnosed ADHD. And when you're a kid growing up, you don't say, oh, I'm struggling because I have undiagnosed ADHD. I'm just neurodivergent. There's nothing wrong with me. You say to yourself, I'm stupid. I'm incompetent. I am incapable of having a future. And that mentality stayed with me up until adulthood. I graduated high school by the skin of my teeth, and I dropped out of community college after the first couple of years with a 1.4. So you're sitting there in your seats right now, and you're saying, okay, what is this dropout doing standing in front of me, acting like they have all the answers? Well, years later, this is me a couple weeks ago at the Wrigley Institute for Environmental Sciences on Catalina Island. I was studying marine biology in the field with my hands. So, how did I do it? There is no lecture I can give you that just bestows like resilience and determination on you like magic words. There's no Pinterest quotes that you can read and wake up being able to climb mountains when all you see are walls. However, I can share with you a few philosophies that I learned along the way that helped me create the person I am today. Number 1, celebrate everything. And this seems a little cheesy, right? Like you're like, this is kind of cheesy. Like everybody you've met has told you, yeah, just have a positive outlook. Everything's gonna be fine. That's hard. You can't just wake up and do that. But the bottom line is, you have to take every single little win seriously. And sometimes that little win could be, oh, just finishing a class at community college. Sometimes it could be attending a class at community college. Sometimes the light is so dark, all you can celebrate is eating dinner. But you ate dinner, and that's good. That's something to celebrate. One day, you're gonna be celebrating making your first scary phone call. Like, oh my gosh, I just called the doctor for the first time. The next day, you're gonna be celebrating getting to your first choice university. So, oh my gosh, Carl, that's so cool. You just like made yourself this crazy, awesome person overnight? No, I didn't. Which leads me to my next and favorite philosophy. The time will pass anyway. If you want to do something and the only thing stopping you is the length of the journey, you just gotta go. You just gotta do it. Some people need to take smaller steps. Some people need a little more help than each other. Does that mean you should go off and find a smaller path, do something you probably could do? I'll leave that to you. But I was in community college for 10 years, on and off, give or take. And now, there's nowhere else I'd rather be. Doing nothing else I'd rather be doing. And you know, the journey is filled with struggles and doubt, and I really didn't find the path until very recently. I didn't know that I could be the kind of person who does the things they say they're gonna do until I was already doing them. That leads me to my final and most favorite thing I'm gonna say to you today. There is so much more to learn about yourself. Believing you can do something is the hardest part of doing anything. But being the kind of person who does the stuff you want to do, all you need to be is somebody who believes in yourself. The image of yourself you have in your head right now as you are standing here is the only you that you can currently conceptualize. And if that person isn't somebody who can climb mountains, you will not see them right in front of you. But every day, you learn more about the things you can do. You have to recognize those things and be patient with yourself. And it's hard. And I know all these words are beautiful things that you'd see on like a fridge magnet, but I know they're true because I lived them. And now, I'm a scientist. And there is nothing stopping you from doing the things you want to do. Your life, your dreams, yourself is your own to mold with your own two hands. All you have to do is reach out and grab it. Thank you.
Alrighty, good morning everyone, buenos dias. My name is Andres and I am a CELP Scholars as well. And I could stand here and continue to tell you who I am and what else is it that I do. But in order to do that, I want to show you all important parts of my life that brought me here today and developed me into the person that I am today. So without further ado, let's jump right in. So, I was born and raised in Los Angeles, California. I come from a proud Hispanic family, my mom's side from Guatemala and my dad's side from Mexico. And I am also the eldest of two siblings, and I am a first-generation student. So hearing that meant something to me early on as a kid. It meant that I was destined to break a status quo that's existed in our family for such a long period of time, and that I'd be the first to finally graduate from a university and create a new path for my younger siblings and cousin. And so I've worked my whole life just to reach that goal. And it all started when I was just a kid, and one of my very first role models was none other than Mr. Bill Nye, the science guy. I come from nice. I come from a time when they would roll out the big TV and start playing episodes, and I was always so inspired by Mr. Bill Nye's portrayal of science, specifically in biology and marine species. And so I wanted to be everything just like him, a scientist. And so for a while, that was in my mind. But for some people like myself, some of you may be able to relate, I came across experiences as a kid, such as imposter syndrome, met people who laughed at my dreams and goals. And so as a kid, unfortunately, I put that behind me, but continue onward looking for other interests. And so it wasn't until when I entered my teenage years, where I attended Huntington Park High School, that I developed a huge interest in journalism. Pretty crazy, but I've always loved writing, especially in sports since I was an athlete myself. And I thought I was destined to becoming a journalist. But it wasn't until weeks before applying for colleges that I realized I was much more interested in criminal justice, as I watched many shows and movies based on the field. And so I made the switch, graduated from Huntington Park High School in 2017, and started at Rio Hondo Community College the same year. And things were going great for a while. I felt that I made the right decision switching majors and that I was destined to becoming a detective. But it wasn't until in 2018 that I hit a massive brick wall where I realized that criminal justice wasn't what I thought it'd be. And even though I put so much time and effort and energy to making this work, the part that hurt me the most is that I had no backup plan for the first time in my life. And I was very lost and very scared. I even considered dropping out of college at some point. I would sit in my car Googling, how do I drop out of college? But what stopped me from making that decision final was thinking about the promise and the goal that I made to my family of making it to a university and how I'd be letting them down, others who believed in me, and most importantly, I'd be letting myself down. And so I got back to thinking of other potential interests. I went a little bit back to the past, and one man came to mind, Mr. Bill Nye, the science guy again. And so I gave biology a second chance. And fast forward 3 years later, it was one of the best decisions that I made, as specifically evolutionary biology became my passion and a calling to me, and I developed a heavy interest in doing research. So I made it my absolute goal to get there. And so I graduated at Rio Hondo College, earning my associates in biology in 2021, transferred to Cal Poly Pomona the same year. And ever since I stepped foot onto that campus, my life has completely changed for the better. I've accomplished many different things that I didn't think was possible. And just to name one, after being rejected for so long, more than two hands can count, I finally got accepted to a lab and was able to obtain undergraduate research experience with the Organic Tomato Breeding Project. And there I was also introduced to population genetics and evolutionary biology, so it's a good start. And plus, I even got to present at multiple conferences and even wrote a scientific paper that got uploaded to ScholarWorks. And so I ended up graduating. My commencement was held in May of 2024, earned my bachelor's in biology. But months prior, before this event, there was one man who offered me an opportunity of a lifetime. He is now my mentor and my PI. His name is Dr. Valdez. He gave me the opportunity to come back to Cal Poly to do my master's in biological sciences. So ever since January of this year, I've been doing research in his lab, doing research in how good are sea slugs, doing phylogenetic analysis. And so upon starting in his lab, I was even able to join him on a research trip across the world. And mind you, I've never been outside of my house. And I even got to travel with him to study sea slug. I went snorkeling for specimens. I got to study in the lab to identify our sea slug collection. And I even got to experience other things, such as working in the lab, hanging out with my sea slugs, and just doing multiple different things. And all this experience combined together told me a couple things. One, that I am exactly where I belong, and that I am meant to be here, and I am not going anywhere. And all those times that I failed, that I've fallen, it was all worth it, as it brought me to this point. So with that being said, this is who I was, and this is who I am now. I was just a kid from Los Angeles, and now I'm the first in my family to graduate from a university. I am a CELP Scholars as well, with all these lovely people. And I'm finally the scientist that I've always dreamed of becoming ever since I was a little kid. So one final thing I'd like to say before I leave, and this is to you all, nobody walks a smooth road. We all walk bumpy roads. You're gonna trip, you're gonna fall, it's gonna hurt, you're gonna cry. It'll be frustrating. But does that mean for you to stop? Definitely not. As each time that you get back up, you will get stronger. The person that comes out the storm is never the same person that goes into the storm. They're never the same. They're always better. And as Dory once said, just keep swimming, just keep swimming. Thank you so much. God bless.
Hello, everybody. Alrighty, so I'm Vivian, and I'm really excited to share my story with all of you. All right, I have a little summary slide here. Currently, I'm a master's student at Cal State Fullerton studying biology. I got my bachelor's degree from UC Davis in environmental science and management, and I was born and raised here in Southern California. And I am a child of immigrants and a first-generation college student. So navigating higher education college has always been really challenging and confusing for me because I didn't have people in my family who have gone through it who could give me advice. So since my family, they were always working, I didn't grow up going outdoors. Like, I did not go outside into nature very often. And so the first time I really got to explore the outdoors was in my AP Environmental Science class in high school. And more specifically, I went on this week-long trip to Catalina Island through the Catalina Environmental Leadership Program, which is also CELP, funny enough. So it's a full circle moment. And there, for the very first time, I went tide pooling. I went kayaking. I learned about composting. But I never knew that that was going to become my career one day. And so that really sparked my passion to be outdoors. And since I liked that class so much in AP Environmental Science, I decided to major in it. So I got a degree in Environmental Science and Management. And since I didn't grow up going outdoors, the only way I knew how to get outside was through my classes. So I took every single field class that was offered that I could take. So I got to do some really cool stuff. I did stream assessments of water quality on all kinds of different bodies of water in Northern California, including a frozen lake in Shasta. And I got to do some stream measurements, and that included some whitewater rafting in Yosemite, which is really cool. And I also did research at the Bodega Marine Lab, where I studied how 2 different invasive species interact with each other. And then I graduated, and I was so burnt out. I was like, I'm not ready to go to graduate school. I need a break. And that 1 year that eventually turned into 3 years, but it's okay because I learned a lot during that time, and it was not like a waste of time. I was not behind because I didn't go straight into graduate school. So I still didn't really know what I wanted to do. All I knew was I liked being outside, and I liked doing field work. So I got a job with the State Water Board, and there I learned how streams and how much water needs to be in streams for anadromous fish like salmon to be able to swim upstream. And then eventually I realized I really missed working with people. So I quit that job and I got a job with Los Angeles Unified School District as an outdoor educator. And I brought people out into nature. I brought a lot of students onto their first ever hikes. And I basically inspired students to get into nature the way that I was introduced to it through a camp. And then I also worked at Trader Joe's at this time because my job at LA Unified was a part-time job and I had to pay the bills. So, everyone's journeys are not linear. And then after all that time, I realized I really missed marine biology. And that was like that moment where I was like, I know what I want to do now. So now I'm a master's student studying biology at Cal State Fullerton. I study intertidal ecology. And the Rocky Intertidal Zone is this very unique system where the animals are exposed to terrestrial conditions, they're exposed to air during low tide, but then during high tide, they are exposed to marine conditions, so they're underwater. So that makes them very susceptible to environmental stress. So my project is looking at how low tide temperature affects the interactions between a predator, the sea star over there, and the prey, a limpet. And as you would see from like other people's talks, is the ongoing theme that I absolutely would not be here without my community. As a first generation college student, it was very easy for me to feel alone and to struggle, but having these people to help me, to encourage me, mentors, lab mates, groups like SOCNIS, where I saw faces that looked like me, and that helped me not only through hard times, but also to teach me to celebrate my wins, because I feel like I'm constantly like, I need to do more. What I did is not enough, I need to do more. So having people to like slow me down and help me celebrate those wins is very important to me. And then my end of the talk ends with a photo that was taken, two photos taken 10 years apart. One was the first time I ever came to the aquarium in high school, and on the right was the CELP Scholar announcement. So looking at these photos has really helped me reflect on how much I've grown as a person and as a scientist in these years. And high school me definitely would not have imagined that I would be up here sharing my story with all of you. Because I don't know, I think like this is just me. Like there's nothing special about me. But the reality is like I did do a lot of work to get here, and I am a scientist. And hopefully that can inspire you. It's really easy to see everyone's wins up here on the screen, but I do not have a slide on every time someone told me no, or I didn't get a job or a scholarship. So celebrate your wins and just work hard, and you'll be able to be up here someday. Thank you.
Good morning, everyone. Can you guys hear me? Feels like I can't hear anyone, or like there's no noise up here. But I'm Natalie Garcia. There you go. I like to consider myself a chemist, even though I'm still like an undergraduate student with no degree. But I'll be talking about my journey as I'm navigating through chemistry, marine sciences, and life. So as you could tell, we're all very multifaceted. We're not just scientists. We all have communities. We all like stuff. I was born in South Central Los Angeles, born and raised. And I love being outside, so you'll probably catch me at a concert or traveling. I'm a proud Mexican American, so my favorite place to travel is my parents' hometown of Malacan, Jalisco, Mexico. So I included a picture up there. And I've also played basketball for most of my life. And I've been training as a street style dancer for about 10 years now. Street styles being hip hop and house and all that jazz. But when I'm at home with time to kill, you'll probably see me playing Pokemon, Apex, or Warzone. And I wanted to include my pets somehow, so there they are. All right, as you see, none of our paths are linear, and I'm another example of this. So I graduated from high school in 2020. But I only did one semester before life hit. And I'll spare you guys the sad details, but I didn't give up. And I continued, and I picked college back up, and I'm currently at Los Angeles City College, a community college, and I'm a chemistry major, like I said. And I've been grinding my bottom off since. It's been so hard, especially as scientists. But now I'm in the process of transferring and applying. So I like to stay by the sea, but honestly, I'm going to go where the money takes me because I'm very afraid of debt. So I was really in my head as I was trying to navigate back into college because I was comparing my journey to my friends' journeys who are already halfway through their college careers. And I was like, well, chemistry's kind of ambitious. Do you even know what you want to do with it? You know, you are starting off kind of late. But what I learned is not to compare your journey with anyone else's. And I was also thinking, so I know I don't want to go the medical route with chemistry, and I don't want to go the pharmaceutical route. Why don't I combine my love of the ocean with my love of chemistry? And that's when I landed on chemical oceanography, also known as marine chemistry, which is essentially the study of chemical components of the ocean, the reactions and pathways of transformation. This field is very interdisciplinary, meaning there's a lot of geology, physics, and biology involved as well. And this is what I want to end up going into. So I'm barely starting my path into research. So I want to talk about one of my most recent endeavors, which was a polymer chemistry and plastic sustainability workshop with the Pfizer, B. Thompson, and Williams groups at USC. This workshop included lectures, discussions, and lab time regarding polymers and plastic sustainability. Polymers are essentially long chains of molecules, so all plastics are polymers, but not all polymers are plastics. I hope I didn't lose you guys. So during the workshop, we also learned about what the PhD students are working at the labs of USC, and we also got into groups and worked on our own little research project. And the last day of the workshop, we went to the USC Ringley Institute in Catalina Island, toured the institute, and we also presented our research there. It was a very enlightening experience because we often think of plastics as the problem when the real problem is sustainability and how we can make an overconsumption and how we can make plastic more sustainable. And that's what the PhD students and the labs at USC are trying to combat. So my future endeavors, I do plan on getting scuba certified. I keep hearing everyone's everyone's experiences with diving, and I'm just like, I'm so jealous. And I do want to be a scientific diver. So I'm also currently transferring to a 4-year. I have been fiending to get into more research. I finally got a taste of it with this workshop, and I loved it. So, and I do plan to pursue a PhD in chemical oceanography in the future. So before I end my presentation, I want to leave you guys with one of my favorite poems, which is called Invictus by William Ernest Henley. It's very powerful, very dramatic, but it goes, "It matters not how straight the gate, how charged with punishments the scroll. I am the master of my fate, I am the captain of my soul." And I interpret that as, you'll only go as far as you let yourself. And if there's one thing you guys can learn from me, is to never give up. Like you saw, I had a pause, and a lot of the people, sorry, I'm a little nervous, but a lot of people before me also took some time off, went into community college. I expected to just go to a 4-year right after I graduated high school, but that wasn't the case. And I beat myself up a lot for it, but you guys should never beat yourself up, and don't compare yourself to anyone else, because everyone else is different. And with that being said, thank you for listening. Thank you for listening to us, CELP Scholars. As we've been learning, community is very important, and if it wasn't for me reaching out for help and reaching out to these communities, I feel like I wouldn't be here standing talking to you all today. So thank you so much for listening to us talk today, and are you guys ready for more talks, more interesting talks, because they're coming up. Thank you.
Hi, everybody. I'm going to move the mic this way. Can you all hear me? Okay. So nice to meet you all. My name is Yuzuna Kudo, and I'm super excited to be in front of you all today. And we can just get started with the introductions. So just a little bit about me. I'm currently a second-year undergraduate student at UCLA. I'm studying atmospheric and oceanic sciences, and then I'm also doing a minor in geospatial information systems. And so I grew up in a Japanese household, but I was surrounded by a lot of cultures growing up. A lot of Armenian culture, also Middle Eastern culture, because I'm from Glendale, and that's a really big part of my identity and who I am today, so I just wanted to include that. And so for some hobbies, I love to spend time outdoors. I also love to spend time with my 3 cats that you can see at the bottom right there. It's really hard to get a picture of all of them together. And then, I also love to go scuba diving. I kind of talk about that later. And also birding and bird watching, also just like nature photography in general is really fun. And you can see some of the pictures I've taken there. And yeah, so I want to just kind of move on to the main topic today, which is I didn't always know I wanted to become an oceanographer. I didn't even really know about oceanography until recently. And so I've always been a pretty curious person, and then in high school I didn't really know what I wanted to do, so I was just having fun taking a lot of introductory courses for all the career paths that they offered at my high school. So I took classes from fine art to music to law, business, medicine, architecture, anything really. And it all really changed for me when I took my first AP environmental science class, just like Vivian, and then it was also like a GIS class, and at that point I had no idea what GIS was. It's Geographic Information Systems, but I thought it was it was great because during that time where I was just exploring all these different paths, maybe some people might think it's unproductive if you already know what you want to go into. If you want to go into medicine, just take all the STEM courses. I thought that getting my feet wet in all these different unrelated fields was incredibly valuable because I learned so much about myself, my strengths, my weaknesses, what type of environments I thrived in, what types of environments I didn't really thrive in, and also just about like how I wanted to work with people or what goals I had in the future, like, you know, helping other people, finding a community, helping the environment. And so with this AP environmental science class, I was like, this is perfect for me. It really combines everything that I learned about and the skills that I picked up from all these different fields, and also just checked off all the boxes for me. And Another thing you'll find when you're exploring and just letting curiosity guide your learning and is that you'll meet so many people with different stories, different mindsets, different perspectives, and you'll also meet so many mentors. And if I can say one thing, just really cherish your mentors because they are really the ones who help you when you need, and they're also a source of inspiration. So my mentor for my AP Environmental Science and GIS class is also the one who got me into scuba diving, and that really changed my perspective, and it helped me find my motivation for what I wanted to pursue in the future. So I knew I wanted to be studying something in the ocean sciences, and so I chose oceanography. And so just so I can talk about what I'm doing now, the main theme that's been prevalent throughout my entire life is just being curious, doing whatever, and exploring as much as I can, and taking any opportunity to do that. And so I'm kind of following that still in university. So some days I'll be in a lab studying chemical oceanography, studying the bacteria at the very bottom of the ocean. You can see it there. Some days I'm also out on a boat in the morning and studying the physical properties of the ocean. And some days in that lab, it can also look like just sitting in front of a computer, coding, and doing data analyses, or even just setting up instruments. And by the way, before I came into college, I had no idea how to do any of these things, but the connections I made on the way with the grad students, the upperclassmen, the university professors, those relationships are really valuable, and you should cherish those when you can. And I also even kind of dabbled in a little bit of evolutionary biology. I was studying the dark-eyed juncos on campus. I was looking at their nesting behaviors and also their anti-predatory behaviors. And so it doesn't really seem related, but I learned a lot about animal research in that lab, which I would later use in a different lab. And then I also have been doing some engineering work using that ROV, which is basically an underwater drone. If there are a lot of issues, you have to learn how to work through it using your hands. And even though I don't come from an engineering background, I learned a lot about that during this time. And I even do some community science work at the aquarium and also work with plankton. But the one thing that I can say through all of these projects that I've been working on, I always rely on skills that I picked up from a time when I was exploring in a different field. So sometimes working in a lab is like playing in a symphony or in an orchestra. And even though it might not seem productive at that time because you know that you want to go into a certain field and you're taking a course that's completely unrelated, you should always keep an open mind because you'll definitely pick up skills that will be applicable to any field you go into. And so one thing from my experiences that I've learned so far is really just to explore as much as you can if you have the opportunity to do so, and let curiosity guide your learning. Don't just kind of funnel yourself into one path because you think you are on a set path, and you actually have a lot more options than that. And even if you know that you want to study marine sciences, definitely take an art course or a music course or learn an instrument. You'll definitely learn a lot of applicable skills and meet a lot of amazing people. And so I'm always here to help, or if you just want to talk about anything else, here's my contact information. As many of the previous scholars have said, finding a community is super important, and I'd love to be help with that as well. So thank you so much for your time today, and I think we'll be moving on to the Q&A.
All right, can we have one more round of applause for the first 7 speakers? Oh my goodness. All right, I'm going to invite the 7 scholars who just spoke to come on up, find their seats, and we are going to turn the house lights on and now invite you to ask questions. Now, Candace and I will both have microphones. It's very important that we ask the questions into the microphone because we are streaming online. We're recording this, and we want to make sure we capture your questions. Okay, so who has our first question for our scholars? All right, we got one right here. And for our scholars, you'll see there are 3 microphones. Same thing, we need you to speak your answers into the microphone. Feel free to pass them around. We don't need everyone to answer every question, but if you feel drawn to answer, please ask for the mic from your friends. All right, we have our first question in the audience. Please start us off.
Hi. Hello? Oh, okay, there we go. Hi. So I noticed almost everyone said that their lives have a little bit of static. Is there anything specifically relating to like the career or what you're choosing to get into that had you step back and be like, is this actually what I want to do? Just because I know that it's not always like a positive thing. Hello? Hello, hello? Can you guys hear me? Okay, yes, it's on. Yeah, absolutely. So I think what I was saying about exploring different things and doing a lot of different things, a really big and important part of that is finding out what you like and what you don't like. And so I had some time working in a lab where I didn't really feel like they were respecting my time, and they make you do like the dishes or like, I mean, of course it's like the part of, it's part of being in a lab and getting acclimated to that type of environment, but sometimes you kind of realize that maybe this is not the right fit for me and I'm not really enjoying what I'm doing. And so what was really important for me was that I was also at the same time exploring all of these different labs that were more fieldwork based or more computer based. And so, and of course I enjoyed time in other like chemical, I actually really enjoyed my time in the analytical chemistry lab. So sometimes it's just the lab environment that like I found that I didn't really enjoy, but because I was exploring so many different avenues, I was able to kind of figure out, okay, I like this, but I don't like this. And so that's really important when you're going through that, like when you're learning about yourself and what you like and you don't like, because sometimes it can be scary. Like if that was the only lab that I was in when I first got into my major, I might have been discouraged to continue. Like might have been discouraged and not have continued after that. But because I was doing so many other things and I knew about the other things that I liked, that really helped me. So to answer your question, just like to summarize, I'd say sometimes you'll find things that you don't like, but it's also really important to put yourself out there and kind of keep an open mind, because there might also be other aspects of that field that you would still like. Does anyone want to add to that?
I think a really big thing for me is like I'm not a diver. I am a very bad swimmer. So I had a lot of imposter syndrome where it's like, am I really a marine biologist if I don't dive, if I don't go into the kelp forest? So it's really about discovering what fits for you and what works for you. My passion is in the intertidal rocking zone. I love going to the tide pools and looking for nudibranchs or algae, and so you just have to find like what you love and what fits for you. Like it's not like you're not gonna find that you're gonna fit with everything. Like you're not, like you have to have all these skills, but you can find something that works for you. Like everyone else, like everyone here, like we all do very different things, but we're all marine biologists. So yeah.
Hello?
This one's hello.
Hello. So, bottom line, science is really intimidating. And you can love biology and you could be really good at like memorizing the bones, but you still have to take calculus. And you still have to take organic chemistry. And I took calculus 3 times. But I passed, and I'm a scientist. So sometimes the hurdles in the static is like, oh my God, can I really be a STEM major if I can't do math? Yes, you can.
Yeah, everybody's been answering this question really, really well, and thank you for your question as well. Just to add to that, I wouldn't stress out about looking for something specifically that you like. One of my professors once said this very famous quote, and I remember it to this day: what makes a good scientist is not how much you know or what you're good at, it's how curious you are. And I believe somebody said that earlier. And so just go out there and see what you like and what you don't like. In my experience with taking labs in my undergraduate, I've had a couple labs that I didn't like and a couple labs that I did like. And I was also thinking about field work, and do I belong more out there in the field? Do I like being in the lab more, or do I like both? And so when I started with the Organic Tomato Breeding Project, I realized I like being out there on the field. But even with some of my labs, I enjoyed different procedures. So when my mentor, Dr. Valdez, gave me that opportunity, it was like a best of both worlds. I was able to go out in the field and then be in the lab. And all that just came from just different experiences, just going out there and seeing what I am very interested in. So don't stress out looking for something specific. Just try it out. If you like it, then you know. If you don't like it, now you know. So be curious and just see what's out there. And even if it's not something in science, it will be a good hobby for you. And don't stress out trying to make a huge impression as a scientist, trying to be the best out of everyone. Be the best for yourself, and learn from it. In science, there's always going to be failures and setbacks. You just got to be prepared for those. And don't take that as something that will bring you down. Take that as a lesson. Failure is really your best friend, and it helps you learn and improve.
Awesome. Great first.
Thank you.
Great first question. Who has our next question?
Hello.
Hello.
Hey.
Hello. Can y'all hear me? How did y'all deal with adversities and setbacks during your lives and throughout your careers?
Hi. So let's just say, I didn't really build my confidence until after high school. I was not a good student. I'm gonna tell you right now. I still kind of struggle sometimes. It takes me a long time to do things. So definitely not comparing yourself and just going on your own boat. Hey, you might need tutoring. You might need to watch YouTube videos. You might need to cry a little bit after class. You might need to take other people's notes. So definitely, if there's something Carl had said, you might have to take extra time to do things. Is that what you said? I'm sorry. I kind of blanked out. Calculus, oh God. So there's going to be things that you're not great at, but if it's a goal that you really want, in high school, I was really cool with my bio teacher, Mr. Lopez. He was really cool. He had fish in his classroom, right? So I would talk to him and be like, man, I want to do something, but I don't know what it is. It's something sciencey, but I'm not quote unquote smart. I would tell myself I would tell him that I'm dude, I'm not I'm not a good student. How am I gonna manage this career? So definitely asking for help. Just keep trying. I'm telling you, ever since I was little, I would always okay, something about the ocean, something about this, I don't know what, and now it manifested into how can I protect it kind of thing. So to answer your question, just don't give up and use all your resources. This is your time. This is really your time to say, okay, what do I want to do? Don't freak out about it. And how do I get there? Plan A, plan B, plan C, plan Z. Go do however way it's going to work for you.
I think that's a really important question to ask. It's interesting because usually when we talk about diversity in a science setting, we talk about diversity in school or diversity in research. Adversity. But when adversity hits you outside of school, it's a little more difficult to deal with. And I think we've all had our fair share of adversity outside of the school setting, not just talking about passing or failing classes. And I think what has always gotten me through that adversity is clinging onto my community or my family. And also if that's not something that is readily available to you or you don't have that community, I also think that clinging onto your passions outside of school is important too. I really, really love soccer. And I think when I went through some of my hardest times, I watched a lot of soccer and I played a lot of soccer too. And that also helped connect me to my community. So yeah, I would just say when you're dealing with a lot of adversity, whether that comes to you through school or outside of school, community is going to be really big. And clinging onto those things that make you happy, even if they're the simple things, even if it's just watching a movie or making a Lego set or chatting with your friends or playing video games. You have to have an outlet, because if you have adversity with no outlet, there really is no way to get past that adversity.
Awesome. Let's get another question.
Hello? Okay. Did you guys ever have people who deterred you from choosing this career path? People who were your best friends, family members, or just people in your life who were this is a pointless career, that nothing's going to come out of this?
Yes. And sometimes they do mean well. You say, I want to be a biologist. And your parents say, oh, so you want to count flies all day? Like, what do you mean by that? Like, do you want me to do it or not? Because I want to do it. And growing up, I felt cast aside as somebody who would not succeed. So everything I got from my peers was always something about me being a little bit strange. I was a little bit different. I learned things differently than the other kids did. So for me, the goal of what I wanted to do was like unattainable. It was like, oh, I want to be a princess, you know? And to overcome that, you really have to become friends with yourself. I didn't really have a community to lean on until very, very recently, until I got into college and I met other marine scientists who care about the ocean, and the CELP Scholars, and the board who makes programs like this possible, that really care about bringing people from different walks of life that want to do these things, and they say, it made me feel like people like me are needed in the sciences. And I think if you want to be in the sciences, somebody like you is needed.
Yeah, definitely a really good question. I've had my fair share of people who told me that I wouldn't make it this far. And as I mentioned in my talk, they even laughed, like straight up laughed at my face as a kid for wanting to be like Mr. Bill Nye, the science guy. But way to overcome, all those different negativity and those comments, just remember your why. Like, what is your reason for making this far? You have your reason for why you made it here today. So hold on to that and let that be your passion, your future, your fire. And you will meet people who will inspire you too. Like the way I've been able to overcome so many different self-doubt and doubt from other people was thanks to other mentors that I've had in the past. When I was in community college, his name is Eric. He helped me break out of my bubble of wanting to try new things. In fact, it's kind of funny because I used to hate research. I didn't see any point in it, and I figured that me, as the way I am, I wouldn't fit in this type of field. But he would always keep on encouraging me to at least read about it, check it out, and he believed in me. And he would tell me the hard truth. You have to give this a try. You will never grow if you don't give it a try. You're destined for greatness. Go and get that greatness. And so thanks to people and just holding on to my reasoning for making it this far, that will help me overcome negativity and all those doubts, things like that. Thank you for your question again.
Okay, is this on? Oh, it was? There you go. Sorry about that. Just to add on to that, everyone's going to have their own opinion. So you just really have to lock in and do you, because it especially hurts when those opinions are from like family members or from friends. But at some point you're going to be like, I'm going to live my life. I want to do what I want to do. So you do what you want to do. And that's all I got to say, honestly. Just lock in and do you.
All right, who's got the next question?
Hello. Okay. Hi, I'm Kai, and I want to ask. I have two questions. One question is what is the main thing, a big real life problem that's actually affecting the ecosystem in the water, and also what's the ickiest thing you done in your work? Thank you.
Can I answer the icky one? So definitely with trash, it's pretty bad, right? In the mountains, we see diapers, bro. I'm sorry to say, bro. Now with Long Beach, I have a deep place in my heart for Long Beach. I'm in Azusa, so I'm in the canyons over there. I come all the way out here with my cleanups. My whole car's filled with buckets. And not to freak anybody out, but it is kind of a health hazard on all of our beaches. I've seen the same thing in every beach in SoCal. It's a health hazard. Needles, chicken heads, I don't know, man. What's going on? I don't know. It's really, really bad. So I really try to like not scare people away when I do have cleanups, but I try to just be like, hey, you're gonna probably see something weird. Just let me know. And like for everybody, I think red is kind of like danger, but it's orange because it's the needles. I'm sorry if it's graphic, if people like are squeamish, but when you're at the beach, be very careful. Check your area. Like I bring a rake to my cleanups. Like I'm raking in there. Like you would be surprised. Like we would dig and find needles. Like I'm sorry, I don't know if that's like making Long Beach. I love Long Beach. I'm gonna keep cleaning. But definitely, it's really bad. People like people really don't respect the environment. I think that's a big problem. Is the, like I would see, it's kind of sometimes a generation thing. Like I would see like not to blame the generation. Okay, let me not go there. I would see people just like throwing stuff out of their car at a cleanup, and I'm just like, those are like the tios and the tias. Like, what are you guys doing? That's our culture, right? That's my culture. Like, how do we fix that? It's talking about it. It's doing it. I'm set up at the beach. I'm talking about it. Hey, they see me with the biohazard thing. They're like, what the heck? Yeah, it's bad here, and we got to do something about it, So I don't know if that answered your question about that, but it's bad. That's why I'm out there, y'all. So y'all want to come, you guys come.
I can't answer too much for big problems in the environment because I'm not an environment girly. I'm a biophysics girly or biomechanics girly. But I can talk about some gross things in the lab. I think a lot of people, when they think about like biology research, they're like, oh yes, we're gonna see like live animals and it's gonna be so cute and fun. Sure, sometimes, rarely actually. You have to get like approved by the department to have live animals, so it's a bit of a process. But most of the time, you're working with cadavers, like fish heads. Right now in the lab, we have a cadaver of an armadillo. It's huge, just sitting on a table in the middle of the lab. So yeah, those are some of the gross things. They're mostly cadavers. Like they're like kind of smelly. We do have cool stuff too, like shark teeth and those kind of things. But most of the time, if you're researching morphology specifically, you're going to be working with a lot of dead animals, things like that. So they can be stinky, they can be kind of gross. But if you're willing to get past the smell, you can discover some pretty cool things in the lab.
The problems in the ocean are very complicated. We have a lot of scientists working on that right now. Yet I'm still an undergrad, so I can't talk too much about that. But right now, I'm attending the marine biology semester on Catalina Island. It's sponsored by the CSUs. It's on the Wrigley Institute. It's awesome. It's awesome. I could talk about that forever, but I won't. But I will say that we work with a lot of live animals. We will work with a lot of dead animals. We'll go outside the MPA and we'll catch fish, and my professor will just like kill the fish, and then we'll dissect it in lab the next day. And I love it. I love dissecting the fish. I'm apparently pretty good at it. Who wants to go next?
Yeah, there's definitely some stuff too that I can relate to that can be a little bit off, but also some really cool stuff. Like when I went to New Caledonia out there on the field, we came across some Portuguese man o' wars, which will sting you. And at that time, I was pretty scared, but to talk about it now is big. But just remain calm. Don't freak out, and just keep swimming around and just stay away from stuff like that. Even in the lab, there could be like some stuff that could be dangerous, but in our school, and I'm sure in every school, they're very strict on safety and using protective equipment, and so everything is good in the lab, and it's really fun. As you mentioned too, our sea slugs are not alive; they're dead, and we have to preserve them in alcohol. But they're really cool to study, look under the microscope, and then we would cut some of the tails to extract the DNA. So once you see everything works out, that's always a good experience from that.
I can try to answer your first question. So we already talked about trash and some other things that are kind of prevalent in everyday life, but some other things that you might not really think of every day is maybe like if you're walking your dog and then your dog, has to go number 2 and you aren't really feeling like picking it up that morning. That could definitely actually be related to a very prevalent problem in the ocean. We call it eutrophication. That's when there's a lot of nutrients that go into the ocean because after it rains, the pavement is very smooth and it will just funnel all the water that has all like that dog poop or some other like fertilizer and other stuff that is very nutrient rich into the ocean. And what that does is it disrupts the balance of the ecosystem. And what happens is that these tiny little microscopic guys start to grow exponentially, and that can do a lot of harmful things for the rest of the ecosystem. It can block out sunlight completely in some places. It can also just disrupt the balance of oxygen and the decomposition rates as well. So sometimes like those little acts that you might not really think of, like maybe just you have a lollipop wrapper, just making sure that you are throwing it away properly, also picking up after your dog, or if you're like if you're fertilizing, you're using fertilizer for your plants, just making sure you're using it as directed and not excessively. So I hope that could help answer the first part of your question. It was really fun hearing the second part, everyone's answer to the second part.
All right, who has our last question for the session?
Hi. So, a lot of you said that you were interested in science at a young age, or at least have like thought about it before. And I feel like when I was younger, at least, when I thought of science, isn't the way you think about it now. Once you mature a little bit more, you realize it's not like, you're in a lab making things explode and stuff. So I wondered how, once you got older and really studied the field, how you realized it's a lot more physical and, I don't know, just like study oriented, and how, like, what the appeal was for you for all your specific fields.
Yeah. So yeah, it's definitely the science that I'm doing now. Definitely not making anything explode in the lab, but I think what was really appealing for me is that after kind of doing some kind of learning about myself and what I wanted to do, I knew I wanted to make a difference somehow in the environment, but also working with people. And I thought that this field was just a really perfect blend of society and science, and also just like community, like just really local community as well. And so that was really important for me. But I think like any environmental or like ocean science, it will have to do with like the people, just because we're kind of the root of all the problems. But also working with community was a big thing for me. So I ended up sticking with it because it had a lot to do. It was a perfect blend of science, society, and technology for me.
For me, I actually very rarely spend time in the lab. I'm mostly in the field. I became a regular at like the Ace Hardware at the island that I worked at, because I'm just always there buying things. Like the employees were like, "Why do you need like a wood crayon?" It's like, don't question me. I need to color my like limpets out in like the field, to know I already counted it. And yeah, it's a lot. It's very physical. I go out to the field sometimes at like 10 p.m. or like 4 a.m. It's like whenever the tide is low is when you have to go out and do your work. But I think what really motivates me is just being able to be outside and being able to like see the waves flow, see all the animals like in their habitat. I think it's a really cool job that not a lot of people get to do, and I think it's very special to be able to see all that, and also to know that the data that I'm collecting is contributing to this bigger data set to understand the environment and all the animals, and that will inform policy and management decisions to help these ecosystems thrive.
I have a couple of different motivations that inspires me and keeps me going in my field. So first off, in my field, in evolutionary biology, with my research, I'm pretty much studying my Halgerta sea slug collection. And in those collections, there could potentially be a brand new species in there. So knowing that I'm going to potentially discover a new species through the genus Halgerta is what motivates me, because it's not just something that, will benefit me, but it'll benefit the world of science. And we all know that the ocean, there's a lot more to learn, different biodiversity. So knowing that I'll be able to contribute to learning more about our beautiful ocean definitely motivates me. And outside of the field, with everything that I've learned, all my failures, all these important quotes, my end goal is to become a professor and continue my level of research. So I'll be able to pass all that message to the next generation of biologists and help them prepare for the field and for the real world out there. And so knowing that I'll be able to help them and be a role model to them and give them opportunities that I wish I got to have early on in my journey, that's something that absolutely motivates me and that keeps me going every single day.
Natalie, I see you have our last, I'm going to give you our last comment. Go ahead.
Thank you. So coming from a chemistry perspective, I haven't been out in the field in the ocean yet, but when I went into my first college chemistry lab, you think, oh, you're gonna do so many of these cool experiments, like you said, exploding stuff in the lab, but it's actually more like calculating, more waiting for your reaction to run, and just really being intricate with everything, and you just learn to love it. At first, I was like, this is so tedious, this is all this calculation, all this math, but you learn to love it, and it's really interesting because you find patterns with everything. It's not just running the experiment, but it's like finding patterns in the numbers and just observing. So for me personally, you'll just learn to love it.
All right, can we have a round of applause for our first round? Ooh. Amazing. Thank you so much to our first 7 scholars. We are going to take a quick break and reset. We're going to be back in here at 10:30 for our next break. I definitely encourage you during our break, come and talk to our scholars. They all invited conversation. Talk to each other. Think about those questions you might ask next. And we will see you in about 15 minutes. right. Welcome back. Welcome back. Welcome back. Thank you again for being here. Welcome back to our audience watching online. We hope you're ready for round 2. You know what to expect now. You know exactly what's coming. For our second round, we have Ivana, Madeline, Alex, Troy, Sarah, and Willow. And so with that, yes, let's get the energy up. I'm going to invite Ivana, come on up. You got it.
Hello. Can you hear me? Yes. Hello, everyone. My name is Ivana Rizon Elisa Raraz, and today I wanted to talk a little bit about my journey to marine biology. Now, as you can see from these slides, I have been in love with the ocean since before I could even walk or stand on my own. My parents used to take me tide pooling in Mexico, and this is where I played with all the little critters, and I realized very early on in my life that I wanted to be a marine biologist. However, I am a first-generation American citizen and a first-generation college student. So when we moved from Mexico to this country, I did not realize how hard my journey was going to be. Now, I lied. Before I go in here, when I graduated from high school, I went to a 4-year college, which I was very excited about, but very quickly I realized that nobody in my field or in my classes looked like me. And this was a very alienating feeling. And I had a little voice in the back of my head that told me that I did not belong here and there was no point for me to stay within the program because I knew I wasn't going to graduate. And so I ended up listening to this voice and I did drop out. Now, years later, I realized that that is my imposter syndrome talking, and it's taking me a long time to overcome that voice. But now I know that I am not an imposter in this room, and none of you are imposters in this room. We do not have to be excellent or greater than average to deserve to be here because we have a right to take up spaces in these communities. And so I came home from from 4-year and I went to community college, and then I transferred to San Diego State and I got my bachelor's in marine biology with an honors minor in interdisciplinary studies. And during my time at San Diego State, I joined Dr. Edwards' CELP Ecology Lab, where I did my own independent project researching kelp gametophytes. And so essentially, I grew up giant kelp and bull kelp from their very baby stages, and I gave them sea urchin feces to see if that would help as a nutrient source. And so this project made me realize that I absolutely love research, and I love asking questions and being curious. And of course, I got scientific dive certified during this time, and this only fortified my connection with the ocean. And so after this project, I realized that I was very, very interested in kelp ecology. And for those of you who don't know, purple sea urchins have been very harmful to our coastal communities within the past couple of decades. Their population sizes have grown by a lot in the wild, and they have started eating a lot of our kelp, which is very bad. And so as harmful as they are, I was oddly fascinated by them, and I decided to study them in my master's program, which I am doing right now. So currently, I am at California State University, Long Beach, and I am working with Dr. Pace. And in our lab, we focus on the ecology and physiology of marine invertebrates, specifically during the larval stage. And so my thesis project is focused within the purple sea urchin larval stage. And first, I wanted to start off with what is a larva, for those of you who don't know. As we can see here, this is a female purple sea urchin, and she is releasing her eggs into a beaker, which of course would normally be the water column. And these eggs would find sperm, and they would become a larva. And this little animal is going to continue growing in the water column, feeding and eating until it's ready to settle as what we call a juvenile. So this is a baby sea urchin. And then that urchin will continue growing until it starts to resemble this adult. And then the cycle will continue all over again. And so my thesis project is asking, within that larval stage, if we grow them at different temperatures, how do their metabolism change, and how much energy are they spending to grow within these temperatures? And of course, I have loved my time here within California State University, Long Beach, and with the Aquarium, and my project has been supported by the Aquarium of the Pacific, the NIH Bridges to the Doctor program, the Sally Casanova Predoctoral Scholarship, and CSU Coast. And the only reason why I am naming these agencies is because they are made to diversify marine biology. And so for my young crowd out there, if you are interested in going to graduate school, getting your BS in marine biology, do not let money be a factor. There are agencies made specifically for you to succeed within this field. And now I'm getting close to my journey, to the end of my journey within my master's. So my future direction is to go into a PhD, which I'm currently looking at labs to get admitted within the starting fall. And I want to stay within the field of marine ecology. Fingers crossed, larval development, that is my niche and I love it. But this is just my short-term goal. My long-term goal would be to open up my own research lab. And this is because my journey was so hard as a Latina and as a first generation, and I do not want other Latinas to go through what I went through. And I want 20 years from now for me to be a professor and for all these younger generations to look at me and see a face that looks like them and know that they are welcome and they do not have to fight for their spot in this field. And now, for those of you who are not scientific divers or divers in general, the diving field is about 10 steps behind marine biology and it is not diverse at all. So that is another one of my goals. I want to diversify scientific diving and I want to make it more inclusive and more economically feasible for people who are interested in going into the field. That is a huge barrier within diving. And now I want to give a big thank you to the Aquarium of the Pacific for supporting me and for my CELP Scholars for being there for me as well. And these are all of my professors and mentors who have guided me through my academic journey. I want to give a big thank you to all of them. And of course, my family and my friends who have always supported me, specifically my mom and my dad who are here. Even though I dropped out in 2020, I got scientific dive certified and my dad bought me my first gear because he knew that this was my call. So I want to give a big thank you for everyone for coming today.
Hi, everyone. Don't think I can remove this. I won't, just in case. All right, my name is Madeline Pacheco, and today I'll be presenting Saying Yes, My Journey in Marine Science. So, one random day, I'm with my mom, and she goes, ¿Por qué no trabajas en el acuario? Why don't you work, or rather volunteer, at the aquarium? And I said, yeah, that is such a great idea. So when I was 14 years old, I decided to volunteer here at the Aquarium of the Pacific as a volunteer. As a volunteer and education volunteer, I became really fascinated with marine life and marine ecosystems. This is ultimately the place where I fell in love with marine biology, and I now consider this place to be my marine scientist birthplace. Now, I always knew I wanted to go to college, so when I was in senior in high school, I applied and got accepted to the University of California, Santa Barbara in 2019. But as we know, COVID pandemic hit in 2020. I was forced to move back home, where I worked 30 hours a week at Target, just trying to pay the bills. But over this time, I heard that UCSB was a good research school, and I began wondering what that actually meant. I didn't know what research was, but I wanted to get into it. So one day, as we're returning back to campus, I'm a junior now, I get an email and it says, "Are you interested in research in graduate school?" And I said, yeah, I think so. I didn't really know what research was. I didn't know what graduate school was, but I said, yeah, let's see what it's all about. And so with this program, I joined a lab under Dr. Adrian Steyer at UCSB, where I studied coral reef stressors in French Polynesia, so a small island in the South Pacific. And one day I met with Dr. Steyer, and he said, "Do you want to learn how to scuba dive?" And I was like, what? Yeah, but I'm really, really scared to. I'm kind of scared of the ocean, honestly. But Dr. Steyer removed barriers for me to dive, and he gave me equitable access into the world of scientific diving. And while I was getting my certifications, I also began applying to graduate schools. And in 2023, I received funding from the National Science Foundation, and I got accepted into the Ecology PhD program at UCLA. And I also graduated from UCSB and started my PhD in 2023. And right now, that's where I am, entering my second year under Dr. Paul Barber. And I just finished my first PhD fieldwork season in Madagascar. The fish were not paid actors. But there I am collecting environmental DNA samples in order to survey marine biodiversity on the coral reefs in Madagascar. I also got to work
in Mozambique with a local nonprofit where I taught kids about corals, and I also collected some more data on the coral reefs. And there we are conducting a transect and quadrat surveys in order to figure out what's existing on the reefs. This was also the hardest diving I've ever done. It was surgy, the visibility was bad, and as you can see, there's a whole lot of algae growing on the reef. But yeah, the experience was pretty life-changing, and I actually got back a couple days ago, so hopefully you can't tell that I'm jet-lagged. Now, my path has been pretty linear. I've shared some key moments of my life, but there's also been some challenges. This picture marks the beginning of my experience with housing insecurity and economic hardships that continued throughout my adolescence. The spring before I went to French Polynesia for the first time, I almost dropped out of school because I experienced domestic violence. 3 days before the National Science Foundation deadline, I nearly deleted my entire application because my mental health was at its lowest. I really, really love to dive, but I live with a condition that causes severe back inflammation and pain. And 2 weeks ago, I had a most recent flare-up where I was in so much pain I couldn't walk, nonetheless, dive or do anything for myself. So it's really hard saying yes to opportunities when you don't know if you're capable for them or if you're ready for them. I've never really felt ready for them, but telling myself yes, and yes, I can do it, was sometimes all I really needed. A mantra I live by is give yourself the opportunity to get the opportunity. Saying yes to yourself is sometimes the first step of the process. As I begin my acknowledgements, I'd like to thank my mom, who immigrated here from to the United States by herself. And because of her courage to immigrate here, start a new life without nothing, I now have the courage to continue to keep saying yes. Now, I'd also like to thank the community that I'm a part of and all the people I've worked with. I would not be here without them. Dr. Chavez Garcia, Dr. Famat, Dr. Owens, Lily Zhao, Dr. Steyer, Dr. Barber, Eli, and Denise. They have shown me such kindness and compassion that has really allowed me to become the scientist and person that I am today. So as we continue today, listen to other talks, I invite you to truly grasp and truly feel the profound power of community equity, learning, and persistence. Thank you.
Hello? Okay, cool. Hi. Hi, my name's Alex Lozano, and today I'm just going to be talking about a little bit about myself and how I got to be here in front of all of you. So I am a biology and studio art major at CSU Channel Islands. I did not start in biology, I started in art, and so the road to getting here was really rough, and we all come from different paths and stuff, but this one felt a lot like a big roller coaster, which is kind of wild. I'm a first-generation Chicano. My dad was born in Mexico, and my mom is from Michigan. It's a fun time. And probably the most important thing in my journey so far that's kind of led me down the most roads and influenced who I am the most is the fact that I am a transgender man. For y'all that don't know that, I was born as a woman, and now I look like this. It's a great time. I'm a lot happier. I'm from the San Fernando Valley. I have 2 younger siblings, and my cat, Shrimp. I love her so much, and I wish I could just spend this whole time talking about her. So, a little bit what I do a whole lot. I work as a graphic designer for my university. On the side, I sell art at different art markets and things like that. When it comes to science, though, I like to study queer ecology. And that sounds like I'm just studying a bunch of gay fish, but it's not all that. Um, what that means is I basically just study the way that nature, and specifically nature in marine environments, is different from the binaries that Western science and colonialism sets on nature. The world around us is a lot more diverse, a lot more different and strange than we're taught that it is, and that's something that I find extremely interesting. Um, Along with science, though, like the whole reason I'm doing bio and art is because I want to explore how art can be used in making science education accessible. Science kind of sometimes has this thing where like it really likes to pride itself on being really hard to understand, um, and I feel like that keeps a lot of us from being able to enjoy it fully, and it keeps a lot of us thinking, oh man, bro, like I cannot do that. Um, but everyone deserves the opportunity to be able to enjoy science. Everyone deserves the opportunity to be able to learn it in a way that makes sense to them. And so I hope that I can use art to be able to make it more accessible in that way. So how I got here, featuring this lovely drawing I made when I was like 5. This will make sense in a second. So sharks. I was a child that loved sharks. I watched Jaws and The Life Aquatic when I was like 4, and I was like, oh yeah, dog. It's shark time. So this is my lovely recreation of this scene. Not all of us start off as prodigies. And you know, as a kid that loved to draw, I was just like, oh man, this is it. I'm an artist. I'm a scientist. I'm everything. In first grade, I had my first art class where we drew swans, and the teacher told me I was a horrible artist. And so instead of giving up, my 6-year-old self was like, I'm going to draw the best swan you've seen in your life. And now I have a drawing book that has 5 pages full of swans. The summer before middle school, I came out to my parents as a trans man. And while now, standing before you, I'm probably more proud of myself than I've ever been, that was not the case starting out. I came out in 2014. I didn't know any other trans people. I hadn't really heard that it was a thing. And as much as my immediate family, I was lucky to have them accept me, a lot of my family didn't, and they stopped talking to us. I lost a lot of friends because of it. It was really isolating. And so I kind of just stopped doing the things I like to do, you know? And that included drawing, that included science. And so I was like, okay, well, on top of the pressure of being like the first one born in the US and wanting to make my family proud, I was like, I'm gonna be a doctor. That did not work out. I did 3 years of pre-medical science in high school and was bored the entire time until I met this English teacher named Mr. Kim, and he was like, you like to draw, man. You should disappoint your parents a little bit. Go to art school. And I was like, that's a great idea. So I applied to art school. I got into my top choice, could not afford it with scholarships. So I ended up at CSU Channel Islands, and that ended up being probably the best thing that happened to me, not gonna lie, because I was like, guys, I still like science. It's still there. And so I did that, and at first I was like, well, none of these science teachers look like me. None of these science teachers come from the economic background I do. None of them are queer. I can't relate to these people. Maybe I just don't belong here. And then I took a class on science illustration. And in that process, I learned about species that like change their sexes, species that act in ways that aren't what we typically see in cis heteronormative scientific ideas. And I was like, oh, you know what? Science is different. Maybe I can be different too. That's great. So I decided to be a science and bio major, and now I'm here. and I've had some wonderful opportunities with it. I've gotten to make so many new friends, and I've gotten to show my art places. I've gotten to do some cool research at Santa Rosa Island. And I don't know, what something that one of the mentors we have here while we were preparing for this said is that being you in the spaces you love is inspiring already. And if you're doing something that, you know, there's two things you really like to do and you want to do it, but you've never seen it before, you don't know if it can be done, you can do that thing, man. Like, you can make it a reality. The world's not as black and white as you get told, and there's room for you here within it. You just have to get a bit creative, okay? You're gonna be okay. And so yeah, that's that. Thank you. If you want to reach out, there's my Instagram and stuff.
Hi, everyone. Okay, green button. My name is Troy, and I am excited to share with you all my journey in conservation justice and shared stories. I am a second-year PhD student at San Diego State University and UC Davis. I received my Bachelor of Science from the University of Maryland, and I study the social and ecological consequences of raw sewage pollution in the Tijuana River estuary system. I grew up in Washington, D.C. I'm not from California. I have a twin brother and 3 sisters, and these are a variety of photos. We grew up very close. But one thing that set me apart from my siblings was that nobody liked water. Either they couldn't swim at all, or they were very poor swimmers, or just frightened. And meanwhile, I'm just exploring rivers and creeks, and I always felt most at peace when I was exploring marine ecosystems. But they loved me a lot. They not only indulged my interest in marine systems, but they supported and uplifted my interests. This is a photo on the left of my grandmother, and we're all just kind of like hanging off of her in the pool, and I know she was terrified to get in that water. She was the worst of us all, but her smile says it all. She just loved spending time with us. And the photo on the right is a photo of my mom and I for my 14th birthday. She surprised me with a trip to the Georgia Aquarium, which is has the largest tank in America, and it's large enough to fit 3 whale sharks, which are larger than the size of a school bus. And her death grip on my arm was intense, but she loved me so much, and they always did everything to uplift me. But it got me to ask the question of, why did my family have trauma with the water? Why were they so frightened of it? Sorry, is there a problem? Sorry. And it didn't take long or a lot of hard work to discover that Black people in America have a historically tumultuous relationship with the water. And this stems from the transatlantic slave trade to slavery and postbellum segregation. Oftentimes, access to clean water or public pools and public beaches was met with violence, death, discrimination, and so it perpetuated the idea and the experience that natural spaces were neither safe nor accessible. And we see this reflected in the lack of diversity in our mainstream environmental movement today. And so I took this a step further during an independent research project when I was in undergrad to understand my immediate family's relationship with their natural surroundings. My family grew up on a small area of land in New Jersey, and less than 1 mile away from it was a Superfund site, which is an abandoned area of land that is so polluted and so detrimental to public health that it requires federal intervention to clean it up. This particular landfill that looks harmless, as you can see on the right-hand side picture, was actually leaching hazardous chemicals, heavy metals, cancer-causing agents into rivers and streams that people would play and fish in. It was leaching those same chemicals and hazards into groundwater. Unfortunately, some of my family was hooked up to wells instead of public water systems. And I don't think it's a coincidence that a lot of my family members who lived on this area of land died of cancer prematurely. All different types of cancers, had various health issues. And this isn't a unique story. A lot of people, people of color specifically, have experiences with environmental justice. And so I say this to put together the story of what I do now in my career. It was my innate curiosity about marine systems that got me here and got me interested in marine science. It's the personal experience with environmental justice, particularly pollution and clean water, that motivates me to conduct science in service of people. And it was that lack of diversity that was reflected that motivates me to work for organizations like Black and Marine Science. I'm the community manager at that nonprofit, and be a part of BWEAMS and other organizations that seek to diversify the field. And it's through storytelling and science communication that I'm able to receive this knowledge and also share it with others, and share with everyone my unique perspective and what I bring to the table in this field. And some of these photos are some of the things I engaged in so far in my early career. There's some public speaking engagements, some first graders just interested in marine science. I'm an advanced open water diver and a scientific scuba diver, and some research is being conducted in that photo. And most recently this summer, my nonprofit, Black and Marine Science, we scuba certified, I think, 8 students in Miami and hosted a Juneteenth dive, which is where that photo was taken. And so what I hope to impart to you is that your unique narrative is powerful. And I encourage you all, as you write college applications and write cover letters and apply to internships and emails, to investigate your own past and embrace the intersectionality that comes from that. It's possible to have a career that touches on a lot of your personal interests, things that motivate you that might not seem connected but really are. So really try and work on that narrative as you go through your careers. I want to read a quote from one of my favorite indigenous climate writings by Robin Wall Kimmerer. Other beings have gifts that attributes that humans can lack. They can fly, see at night, rip open trees with their claws, make maple sap. What can humans do? We may not have wings or leaves, but we do have words. Language is our gift and our responsibility. So I encourage you all to engage with science communication, whatever that looks like for you. It could be any medium: creative writing, poetry, documentaries, photography. Sharing your story is incredibly powerful, and it's your gift. And yeah, connect with me. This is a QR code to my LinkedIn, a QR code to my Instagram. You can reach me at my personal email, twinswim@gmail.com. I haven't changed it since I was like 12. Sometimes it's embarrassing to say. And you can also reach me at info@bims.org if you want to talk about BIMS. And thank you.
I have to adjust this because I'm quite short. Hello everyone, my name is Sarah Rodriguez. Today I will be talking to you guys about community engagement within marine sciences. So a little bit about me. I'm from Wilmington, California, so pretty local around here in this area. I recently switched my major into environmental studies with an emphasis and minor in Spanish. That journey is a whole other story for a whole other day. I have future plans of attaining my master's or PhD in marine bio. Two of my top schools are UC San Diego and UH Manoa, which I was accepted into when I was applying to undergrad. I've had a love for marine biology since I was born. I've been surrounded by the water since 2 months old. My first ever visit to the aquarium was actually at 2 months old. Pictured here is me with my beautiful rescue dog, Ruby. And over there is me in a folclorico vestuario. I've been dancing for going on 14 years. It's a hobby of mine. And I've been a lifelong volunteer. And when I mean lifelong, I mean lifelong. Pictured here is little 6-year-old me at a cleanup in Long Beach, funny enough. And the other picture is me and my family at a work day at my elementary school with a program that I used to be a part of and now work for, a nonprofit organization called ShareFest Community Development. And this kind of drew my love. My parents have instilled in us, always giving back to your community, and that's what has driven me throughout my entire education journey. Wilmington is historically a low socioeconomic area and doesn't have the same opportunities for sciences, specifically marine sciences, as other neighboring towns, despite us also being on the water in a port city. Listed here is just a few benefits of community involvement, both environmentally and socially. It's a long list, but few ones I want to highlight are environmentally. It's improved research. Getting people involved allows for the community to get involved, provide their local perspective and indigenous perspective into environmental sciences, which is really, really important because oftentimes historically those stories have been erased, and who better to know about the area you're surveying than the people who live there? That's why I'm a strong advocate for people getting involved, finding these and creating these programs so people can get their feet wet, get their hands dirty, and help become a scientist even if it's by trade. I have a few examples of programs and things. So in my community of Wilmington, we have this organization called I Heart Wilmington, and we have a community garden that is open to the public. People can get spaces of land, grow their own food. It's really great. I know my grandparents have been involved in that program. They had their own little plot of land. So as a kid, me, my brother, and my cousin would go with my grandpa to go tend to our little garden and trade with the other people in their crops. It was really fun. Green spaces are very important in communities. A lot of times, more urban areas and diverse areas don't have green spaces and access to be able to just have recreational use or planting trees as they're like helping diversify the land. I know the Aquarium in the Pacific provides a lot of different programs for the community to get involved. One over there is FinPrint. I recently just started back at school in Santa Barbara. I go to UCSB, I don't remember if I mentioned that. It's called Santa Barbara Channel Keeper, and they ask student volunteers and community volunteers to come together and survey recreational use of marine protected areas. So it's a great way for you to just like walk around, survey the land, and contribute to science because they don't have enough people to get this data. And like I said, who better than the people who know the area to survey it for you guys? And then highlighted over there is Bree's beach cleanup service. I've been part of different beach cleanups my entire life. That was my passion. In high school, I was part of a club, helped found it. And yeah, so these are like great opportunities. Some of them are very low stakes, as much as like just walking to the beach and picking up trash, whereas other ones are actual programs and scholar programs that you can be a part of. Lending a hand is really, really important. So more community involvement in environmental and marine science initiatives allow for the bridge of disparity in underserved communities to be closed, which is my greatest passion. I want people who look like me, like younger me, didn't see a lot of representation, and it was discouraging at times. Even now, adult me, I often sometimes I'm like, am I doing the right thing? But knowing that you can be the face that helps change somebody's life and gets them into what they want to do and fulfill their dreams is really inspiring. And most organizations and programs do not have enough help or funding. So opening these opportunities to volunteer is especially helpful because not only can they collect the crucial data that they need, but the community is involved and the community feels like they're making a difference in their area. And with that, I would like to give a few special recognitions. Obviously, my family and friends, they've helped push me to be part of this program. I almost didn't submit my application, and I'm really glad I did. The Aquarium in the Pacific, specifically Allie and Candace, who have been so helpful throughout this entire journey and help pushing me and my cohort, and again, my lovely cohort. It's so great to see a lot of diverse faces, and all of us have pretty similar stories or different stories and how we've all faced adversity and continue to do so. And Bree for allowing me to use one of your posters for the beach cleanup. But yeah. Oh, wait. Just kidding. This is where you can find me. And again, if you want, go ahead and just come up to me. I have so much to say, but so little time. So yeah.
Okay. Good morning, everybody. Okay. Singe Genach Shake was you had to us out. English Shenach Willow Jackson Achsai. Yes, ka Dr. Tan Achat City. Yes, ka Kik to Hain. Take away the Dutchkin Yari Eichat, Kikwan Eichat. So I just introduced myself in my Singet language. Because in my Alaska Native culture, whenever we speak in front of large groups of people or even new people in general, we introduce ourselves in Tlingit to acknowledge our namesakes and our ancestors who came before us. So I said that my Tlingit name is Shikewas. My English name is Willow Jackson. I am the grandchild of the Bear Clan, and my clan is the Sea Pigeon. My people have originated from the Dog Salmon House, and I am from Cake, Alaska. I am 22 years old. So yeah, I am currently finishing my last year of undergraduate studies at California State University Channel Islands, and I am majoring in environmental science and resource management. I also forgot to mention that I think it's really important to introduce myself and Tlingit, especially in science spaces, because I believe it's really important for Indigenous voices to be heard in this field. So like I mentioned in my introduction, I am from Cake, Alaska, which is a very, very tiny island located in southeast Alaska. While it is very beautiful, it is extremely small and very rural. My island has only one high school, and it's considered a Title I high school, which means it is very, very rural. Sorry, I'm a little bit nervous. My village is one of the most isolated and rural places in the entire country. It's extremely hard for youth to make it off the island to get a degree and to chase their dreams due to the amount of obstacles and barriers that our people face on a day-to-day basis. It is extremely rare for a student to leave Cake and go get a college degree. So like I said, it's very beautiful, very rural, very small. And I mentioned before, I am Tlingit, Alaska Native. And our people are very culturally invested, whether it be song and dance, as you see up in the corner, pictures with my nieces at our recent cultural celebration. And a big part of our culture is subsistence traditional lifestyle, a lot of hunter and gathering, which is very important, not only culturally, but because we kind of have to. We have one grocery store on the entire island, and we get our groceries shipped via barge, so that makes it very, very expensive. And to put it to scale, I was just home recently. A gallon of milk was $15, a bag of frozen berries was $26, and a small thing of juice, like powdered juice, was $23. So yes, the gas, yes, very shocking. It is very, very impossible for such a low-income community to live off the food that's provided to us by the grocery store, so we have to live by the land. And during the last few years that I was living in Cake, I noticed a severe decline in the amount of foods that my people were gathering from the land and sea, and I began to learn that climate change was causing these issues within my community, so I wanted to do something about it. However, I really didn't know how I was going to be able to do that. So yeah, luckily enough, in high school, I was very invested in 3 different sports, my favorite being basketball, with a few trips to the state tournament, and I luckily enough was able to receive a basketball scholarship to play at Bellevue College, which is a community college near Seattle, Washington. I spent 2 years there playing collegiate basketball along with receiving my Associate of Arts and Sciences transfer degree. For me, going to community college was more convenient because it allowed me to save money, and it also allowed me to have more time to think about what I wanted to do. After my freshman year at Bellevue College, I went back home and had an internship called the Alaska Sea Grant Community Gauge Internship. And this was a water quality research project that allowed us to test the waters in the absence of tour cruise ships in the wake of the COVID-19 pandemic. Our work contributed to local climate change studies, and this internship was my first step in the direction of environmental science, and it really confirmed that this is the type of work that I want to do for the rest of my life. And after I finished my associate's degree at Bellevue College, I ran into the same issue that I ran into during high school. I didn't know how exactly I was going to be able to pay for a 4-year university. Luckily, one of my friends told me about the Western Undergraduate Exchange Program, and essentially, if you live in the West Coast, you can basically qualify for this. There's over 160 plus colleges and universities, and it allows you to go to those colleges by paying in-state tuition. So this is really helpful for me, and this was pretty much the only way that I was going to be able to afford college. And that is how I ended up at my current university, California State University, Channel Islands, because I was able to sort through WUI and find a very specific degree to what I wanted to do. And since my arrival at CSUCI, I've had an abundance of research opportunities ranging from coastal access research to whale and microplastic research. My school recently took a group of us ESRM majors to Maui for an environmental monitoring and disaster relief trip. And I am currently doing my senior research capstone project on microplastics in community garden soils. Since being at CI, I've also had a couple different internships, one being last summer at the Channel Islands National Marine Sanctuary. This was an education outreach program where I focused on relaunching the Ocean Guardian Dive Club, which is a dive club for ages 8 through 12. That also teaches them about marine science and ocean conservation. This internship holds a very special place in my heart because I had the opportunity to go on the Chumash to Mall crossing, which is very similar to our Tlingit canoe journey that we have back in Alaska. And I had the chance to speak to the Chumash tribe about my home community and about climate change-based issues that my people were facing. It was a very full circle moment for me. And recently, this past summer, I had an REU with the JT Surf program at Scripps Institution of Oceanography at UCSD, and my research for the summer was a climatology project that involved analyzing meteorological and satellite ocean color data over the Western Antarctic Peninsula. And I did this by familiarizing myself with QGIS, which is Quantum Geographic Information Systems, basically like a mapping program. And I had a lot of imposter syndrome during the beginning because I had no idea how to work QGIS. And I essentially had to teach myself how to do it. And then I created about a pretty big series of maps that analyze the meteorological data. This is a really good internship program. What's next? After graduating in May, my plan is to partake in a 1 to 2 year long fellowship or a grad prep program, which will either give me a better sense of the concentration that I want to study in grad school. After the fellowship, I'm planning on either getting my master's or PhD in environmental science with advocacy for environmental justice in low-income and BIPOC communities. Yeah, and just my story has been very up and down, like very roller coaster. Like I've had a lot of struggles these last 4 years just to be able to go to school, and I've noticed that a lot of my peers don't have the same struggles. So it's been really tough to even get this far. But one of the things that have kept me pushing is my goal and my determination to give back to my community. Yeah, thank you.
All right, let's have one more round of applause for our 6 scholars. While they are getting situated, we're going to bring the lights up. And I saw our phenomenal AV team helping us out with some new microphones. So who would like to get us started with the first question?
Hello, you all gave really wonderful talks. It was great to hear them. The question I have for all of you is, how have you been able to incorporate your personal passions into your academic journey, and how do you feel like that has helped your personal motivations to continue going on to this struggle of academia that I'm very familiar with, that a lot of people might be kind of scared to follow into these footsteps?
I can go ahead and get us started. I think this is on, right? For me personally, it's my background and my roots. I am a proud second-generation Chicana, and coming from the background that I came from, I'm a first-generation college student. Very few of my cousins have gone to college, let alone move away to college. I was one of the first ones to go move straight away into a 4-year university. So it's sometimes isolating. A lot of people from my community, too, they don't often pursue education at a higher level, and if they do, they end up dropping out. But knowing that, like I said in my presentation, that being that face for people and always uplifting my community is really important, because I know there's other people who have those same passions, and maybe it's not the same community that they're a part of, but a similar one, and knowing that there's people fighting for what they're passionate about and bridging their different loves of different interests has really pushed me to continue with college, because it gets difficult at times. There's times where I was like, do I really belong here? I don't see a lot of familiar faces. But finding those spaces, like me, I'm part of a bunch of different cultural clubs. I'm president of my Folklorico group on campus, and seeing people of the same background and the same struggles also thrive is really uplifting. So just finding your space and continuing to know what's true in your heart is all that you need to continue your education journey.
Hello? Hello? Does this sound good? Yeah, I agree. I think with me, it's a lot of my roots. my mom was actually a teen mom. She got pregnant very, very young, and she did not have an access to education. So growing up, I really realized the importance of education, and that kind of has fueled me and keeps fueling me. So with my story and then also how I interact with folks, I try to focus on those who may not have access to education, and I really try to give opportunities and inspire folks, particularly K through 12, that they do have a path in education and they can go to college if they want to. Yeah, so all about access and opportunity.
Who has our next question?
Hello. I have a real question for like Willow. When it comes to like culture wise, what is it like when it comes to like the like boundaries and the I forgot like because you know how in families you just always like if you go big or go home, it's like okay I have to do this, I have to do that to show like I can actually do this for my family, to show like we can do this from here. What is it like boundaries and stuff? Yeah, okay. That's a very good question. For me, it definitely has been a struggle to get as far as I have just because there's not a lot of people in my community, let alone my family, who have made it as far, especially in terms of science. The barriers, like they're pretty strong where I come from. So like I said, it's pretty much impossible for somebody to leave the island and go and get their degree. My advice for just kind of dealing with barriers is you have to find as much resources as you can. I luckily had a mentor in Cake that encouraged me to apply for my very first marine science internship. And from there on, I was able to kind of just take that step and go forward with it. But I also had to reach out to a lot of other people because I was still lacking those resources due to barriers. So my advice is just to like kind of reach out to as much as people as possible. So like events like this, there's a lot of us here that you could talk to and receive advice and information from. But yeah, I do realize that everybody has their own set of struggles that they come from, and you kind of just have to take it head on. I know it's easier said than done, but that's kind of the best thing that you could do for yourself is just to power through it, take all the necessary steps that you need to kind of deal with those barriers and those struggles that you deal with, and just, you know, keep it going, because that's the best thing that you could do, because you can't, like everyone's been saying, you can't just stop and give up, otherwise, you know, you're just done. But if you keep powering through the struggles and those barriers, then you can definitely make it as far as you want to. I don't know if that answered your question.
Where's the next question? I know y'all are starting to think about lunch, so you're starting to get like, oh, I don't have any questions anymore.
Hi. A lot of you guys mentioned that you come from like different identities or different like cultural backgrounds, and I feel this is a question that gets asked a lot. But what is a way that you or an advice you can give to like set yourself out there so that you and your culture are heard or are like known?
I'm gonna just answer this one real quick. My best advice would be to do your best research on the things that you're interested in and apply to as much things as possible. So even though you might get rejected a lot, the best advice would be to just literally apply for every single thing that you see, because you never know if you get in, and then those are types of opportunities and experiences that will definitely benefit you for the rest of your academic or professional career. So yeah, just apply for everything and seek out information for the stuff that you want to do.
Yeah, I think seeking out information is really critical there. There are a lot of groups and organizations and nonprofits that are working towards advancing diversity and advancing these like diverse backgrounds and cultures and identities, especially in academia and especially in the environmental movement. So yeah, doing your research, doing a quick Google search, I think there's a lot of opportunities that exist so that you can find community, so you don't feel alone in these spaces, and you can feel supported with numbers, because that's important.
I also, is this on? I also want to add, like, bringing your culture into these spaces.
It's incredibly important for you to be yourself. Do not wash yourself down when you are in these fields. There has been a lot of times where I walk into a room and I'm the only person of color there, and you have to be yourself and you have to say, I am Latina, I'm first generation, and I deserve to be here. I'm not going to lie about myself to make myself feel better, anything. You just have to be yourself in these spaces. And I know it's hard and it's intimidating, but you get to a point where, like right now, there's so many diverse people in this room. You get to a point where you just stop caring about, do I fit in or do I not fit in?
Kind of in the similar sentiment as Ivana, just be loud and proud about who you are. Every place I go, I let it be known that I'm Mexican, because I know that there's not a lot of representation sometimes in my field or the areas of work that I want to do. And I always honor my culture, honor my ancestors and those who came before me. Any chance I get, I'll let people know that, yeah, all four of my grandparents immigrated here with nothing to fulfill the dream so I can have an education and help build future generations of my family to have these opportunities. And most of the time, being loud and proud about who you are brings in these opportunities. A lot of times, sometimes professors will be like, hey, I heard about this opportunity and it's about diversifying the field that you're interested in. Why don't you apply to it? And not being scared to do so, because like I said, I got sent this Scholar Program application a week before it was due by a friend of mine, and I remember sitting there thinking, oh my God, this is so little time. What if I don't get accepted, because I've gotten rejected from a lot of different scholarships before, and I needed I needed some references. But talking to those professors who believe in you, or just your community who believes in you, they'll help get you to where you need to be. So as always, just be proud of who you are and let that be known, because you can be that inspiring person for somebody else.
Okay, so it's not more or so asking for a question, but asking you guys for a favor, if all of you could, just to close it out. Could you guys emphasize to the high school students here how important it is to have a support system when you're like a first generation college grad, and especially first in your generation to get a master's or a PhD, how easy it is to get lost in the sauce of doing data analysis, being stuck in a lab, reading articles, applying for grants and scholarships, and you can kind of lose yourself in the shuffle of not being able to socialize or be more acclimated with your family. So if any of you could, explain the importance of the support system.
I will say I was born and raised in San Diego, and I did my undergrad in San Diego, and I lived at home with my parents. So this is the first time that I've moved out of the home doing my master's. And my parents are my backbone for what I do. Like, I do everything because they sacrificed everything for me to be here and for me to get a college degree. And they are always going to be there for me emotionally. However, my people from my school, my professors, my mentors, they have guided me so much through this academic journey. I would not be here where I am today. Like my advisor, Dr. Pace, he has guided me through all these grant writing, thesis writing, how to read a proposal, how to analyze your data. You have to find your niche in the community so you're not alone, because there's no way that I would be here without any of them. So you just have to find your people. And when it comes to prioritizing research or your family or going out, it is hard. I'm not going to sugarcoat grad school. You are going to be in the lab 12 hours, 10 hours, 12 hours plus some days, and things are going to go wrong and you're going to be so frustrated. So you have to have these communities that help you through it, but also realize that this is going to be a really hard journey in your life, and you are going to have to prioritize your school for a little bit in order to graduate.
Yeah, I can touch on the support system being really important. Yeah, I moved across country. I didn't really have any family, few friends, and some support systems dissolved. And I think that made me more intentional in seeking out community. I knew that I wasn't going to be able to do a grad program if I didn't have anyone in my corner. And I also think that there is, obviously everybody talks about like work-life balance, but I think even for high school students, as you're applying to colleges, as you're like trying to hustle and get into a really great college or institution, you have to prioritize joy and don't feel guilty for doing so. Really take time to prioritize your health and your wellness first, and try not to compare yourselves to others. And I hope that you can find support systems that encourage that and don't encourage like toxic work. Yeah.
I kind of want to add onto this. Having that support system's really, really crucial because I learned the hard way in college. Failure is inevitable. I breezed through school growing up. Like, I was a gifted and honor student. I graduated like almost top of my class. And when I got to college, I was like, whoa, this is completely different. And I knew people had told me that the entire time, but I was like, nah, I'm going to continue succeeding. It was not the case. I failed so many classes for the first time ever. I even remember the first time I failed my first Gen Chem test, I sobbed for 2 hours straight in my dorm room. And I'm the oldest sibling, so I didn't really have somebody to lean onto in knowing like how this college experience goes. But thankfully, I have this older cousin of mine who I call my big sister ever since I was younger, who she had a very non-linear path through her education. She just recently got her master's degree in social work, and she's been my biggest inspiration. So having those lifelines to call, my family's really, really supportive. I have a good group of friends who are all pursuing different careers, but knowing that I can just call them and rant about how I hate this professor, that they're making my life so hard, that I feel like I can't pass this class no matter what I do. And them also having similar struggles is really, really great. And again, finding community even on campus, because a lot of times it's a lot easier for me to force myself to go to the library and study when I have a group of friends who are willing to stay at the library for all hours of the night, just because we know we have work that needs to get done and we have our own goals and passions and people to help make proud, which is our support system. So finding those people who you know you can call and sometimes just cry or tell them. I've had times where I've called my parents, and I know my dad is very evident about ponte las pilas. You're gonna just need to keep pushing. You need to keep going because you know what your passion is and you know what you want to do. So don't let these roadblocks stop you from doing that.
Other questions? Yes. Can you pass this?
This is kind of a similar question to earlier, but like, were there times where you felt discouraged, and how did they make you feel?
Sorry, can you say that last part of the question?
Oh, like, how did they make you feel?
So, wait, is this on? Yeah. So, when I decided to go to school for art, we had to meet with like a college counselor and stuff, and in high school. And when I told them I wanted to do art, they were like, "You are wasting your mind." And that kind of hurt, just a little bit. And they were like, "Well, you say you like science, but if you don't want to do it as a job, then you obviously don't actually care." And you're gonna hear stuff like that, man, and it's gonna hurt, especially if it's something that you care about. And I guess the way that, like, I just got through it is physically reminding yourself, hey, you know what? Like, these people are saying, I'm not going to do this. You're not going to do that. But you just, I don't know, like, you just have to kind of be like, not everyone's opinion matters. And that sounds kind of mean, but not everyone's opinion matters. At the end of the day, like, your goals are your goals. If there is a reason why you want to do what you're doing, then you just have to remember, like, man, I can deal with that another day, okay? The time's going to pass anyways. If you decide later on, you know what, they were right, I'm not doing this, you can do something else. The worst thing you can do is not try. So you just kind of have to take it in stride and go with it.
I can elaborate on that question and as well as the previous question in terms of support systems. So the year that I was transferring from Bellevue College to CSUCI, I ran into an issue, which I'm sure this might happen to many of you. I ran into an issue with my financial aid office, and my financial aid package was not processed, even though I was supposed to move into the dorms literally the next day. And they were essentially telling me that I wasn't going to be able to move into campus. Mind you, I'm not from California. I haven't met anybody from California during the time. And they were kind of just like, you can't move into the dorms if you don't have your FAFSA. And at that point, I felt really discouraged from continuing my education because I was like, if I don't have a place to stay, I can't go to school, I can't go to classes. but I did have a support system. I was on the phone actually crying to my older brother because I was just in so much stress, and he did some research on his computer, and he told me to reach out to my school's emergency services program, which in our school is called the Basic Needs Program. And they paid for my stay at a motel for the first month and a half while my FAFSA was being processed. So I did have a place to stay. So that's a good piece of advice for anybody who in the future has issues with financial and housing office, to reach out to your school's emergency service system, and they will definitely help you out. But that was a very good example of what it's like to have a good support system in your college career, because I would have not known about the Basic Needs Program if my brother did not tell me about it. So yeah.
As someone else mentioned too, I've experienced a lot of experience with failing general chemistry. I got a whopping 32% on my first general chemistry exam in college. And I remember going to my biology advisor's office and I said, hey, I'm not sure I'm gonna pass this class. And he said, have you thought about switching majors? And I said, no, I love biology. Why would I do that? He said, well, maybe you should give it a thought. And I was like, I won't. So I continued down the biology path, and I actually picked up another major. So I was a double major with environmental studies as well. And my junior year, I go back to that same office, and I say, hey, I'm still a biology major. And actually ended up becoming a peer advisor for them. And I was like, you can't be telling students to switch paths like that, after one class. Alternatively, something else that haunts me is that when I was a senior in college, I was taking it was like a microevolution class, macroevolution class, something like that. And I'm in office hours, which is like a tutoring space, and it's one of my last classes of my college career, and I'm trying to get help, and the professor goes, how don't you understand this? You're a senior, you should know this already. And, at that point, I had built myself enough to be like, no, I'm still learning. It's okay that I'm still learning. And, if I don't know it, I don't care. I'm going to learn. And just because I don't know it now doesn't mean I won't learn it in the future. So there's instances where, people will get to you and there will be some discouraging moments, but the most you can do really is just say, okay, I don't care, I'm gonna keep trying.
Similar to Madeline, she went to the school that I'm currently at. I've had those same advisors tell me similar things, and it's so crazy for like the first time ever having someone tell you like, maybe this isn't the life for you, and your entire life, that's what you wanted to do. Except I did change my major, and it was something that I struggled with because my entire life I was like, everything's going to be linear, and you have to learn life is not always going to take you where you want it to go. And just recently, when I was moving into my new apartment for the school year on Monday, I had to go to a storage unit to go pick up my mattress, and I ran into a random professor that teaches at my school. Never met the guy ever in my life, and he just struck up a conversation. It was like, oh, I'm assuming you're a student. Asked me where I went, because there's a community college in that area too. And I told him, yeah, I just recently switched my major into environmental studies. He asked what my major was prior. I said I wanted to do aquatic biology, but I unfortunately was weeded out from those weeder classes. And he straight up laughed and was like, yeah, because who wants to study the fishes anyways? He was a history professor. I was like, first of all, you don't know anything about that. Like, what? Why are you laughing in my face? And I remember just going silent and looking at him, and the nervous look on his face was so funny because I knew I made that man uncomfortable as he made me. So that's one of my things I do. I love making people uncomfortable because you're not going to make me uncomfortable and not make me believe what I'm doing is right. So yeah, don't believe others' opinions, as Alex said.
All right, we got a few more minutes. Any last questions? Burning questions? All right, I'm going to ask a question for them. So Sarah, you were talking a lot about switching majors. We heard a lot of different examples of majors, things that you've studied. So if people are interested in this field, does it matter what school you go to? Does it matter what your major is? Do those things, are they really, like, they're about to apply for college? Should they stress about those things?
no, you shouldn't stress. I remember people telling me like, oh, I think there's a statistic. Undergraduate students sometimes can change their major up to 3 times in those 4 years that they've been there. And I remember being like, I'm not gonna be part of that statistic. I'm gonna stick with my major. I was like, oh my God, I'm gonna be a senior graduating student. I'm barely changing my major. I have a friend of mine who is the same year as me, and he changed his major 2 times last year, and this is like his 3rd or 4th major switch, and he's gonna graduate on time. And I've learned that it doesn't matter where you get your degree from or what you get your degree in, because a lot of times it's about the work that you do outside of it and the different opportunities you put yourself out there for that can help you with graduate school. So even though I'm studying environmental studies, which is pretty similar to marine bio, I know I for sure want to get my master's in marine bio. And I know in order to do so, when I take my gap years, I'm going to volunteer in areas of that place, because a lot of times, same with like college applications, they don't just want to hear about your academics, they want to hear about the work that you do outside of school. So me, I was very involved in volunteering, different sports, a lot of programs. I honestly don't know how I balanced it all, and being a part of those things outside of school is what makes you stand out. So don't be so focused on school. Obviously, still doing good in school, but the work that you do outside is what's really going to help you. And it doesn't matter what you do in life, because at the end of the day, you're probably going to end up where you really want to be.
Yeah, I agree with that. And my first 2 years of undergrad, I went to a really small liberal arts women's college, which didn't have a Bachelor of Science track in any environmental field. I'm not sure why I chose that, knowing that I was really interested in marine science, but it actually worked out for the best. The first 2 years, I was able to take a lot of social science classes. I took really random courses that just interest me. Like I took a prison abolition class and creative writing and environmental justice. And it worked out because it allowed me to expand what I thought I was interested in. So yeah, I know probably people have told you this before, like in your first year or second year, take classes that are interesting to you, but I really encourage it. It worked out for me, and it allowed me to expand my interests.
For all of our scholars and our alumni, can you raise your hand if community college has been part of your journey? I just want to point that out to everybody. Community college is an incredible way to get that first experience, to explore, to learn more about what you don't know. You don't know what you don't know. We say that all the time. And so getting those opportunities is really wonderful. Can we get one more round of applause for incredible... I'm gonna have you just stay right there for a second as we wrap up. 2 themes that I really heard that I'm so grateful came out are perseverance and belief in self. And what I also really appreciate is that everybody who talked about perseverance and sense of self acknowledged that it's really hard and it takes a community, which is how we started this conversation. So thank you so much. I am incredibly inspired by you every day. Thank you so much for giving so much of yourself, being so vulnerable, and sharing your story with us. Thank you to all of our scholars who presented. Thank you to our alumni who continue to be participating. One of the incredible strengths of this program is not just the cohort and the 1 year that we provide with our scholars, it's the continued engagement, and to have the alumni here today and start to create new relationships with new members of our community is phenomenal. So thank you so much for that. I'd also be remiss if I didn't say a huge thank you to Candace Cross, who has created relationships with these scholars and has mentored them and really been part of launching this program this year. Candace, thank you so much for everything that you give to this program. Here is what's going to happen this afternoon. Our scholars are going to continue our programming. We have 3 STEM professionals who are joining us, Claudia, DeMarcus, and Quasi. So this morning, we asked our scholars to speak to themselves in the past. We invited a whole bunch of high school students, and we said, hey, talk to yourselves a few years ago. And this afternoon, we're going to invite them to talk to some people who might be themselves in the future. So we're really looking forward to that. And we're going to continue these engagements into the future. We have opportunities to network and introduce scholars, and so we're so grateful that everyone is able to join us. And to wrap it up, I'm going to invite our on back up.
I don't actually know how to follow these guys. And if you haven't been inspired, then somebody sitting next to you better check your pulse. But, you know, what strikes me, all the themes that intellectually everybody has shared, but I've been a professor for a long time. I've taught at 15 different universities, probably 100 PhD or postdocs that I've mentored, and you guys are great storytellers. You're amazing, and that you don't that is going to take you so far. That is so important. No, when I was training, nobody told me to be a good storyteller, and I'm not really a good storyteller, but you are such good storytellers. It's not just about science, it's what's going to allow you to reach the public, to have people care about what you care about, and I'm just sort of blown away by your ability to show your full story and the depth of it. We think of science as this cardboard thing and these technicians. It's like a flat figure. None of you are flat figures. You are, and it's really pretty cool. The other thing we took, one of my hobbies, it's not a hobby, it's a technical pursuit, is AI. AI can answer questions. It doesn't pose questions. Their backgrounds, your experiences, what's driving you to pose questions. What you offer is not the technology, not the skills, not the statistics, not the lab techniques. It's the questions you'll ask, and that's what makes this program so special. It's just the broad range of questions you'll bring to it. So we've been applauding everybody. We've been applauding them for getting here, or we've been applauding them for their humor, or we've been applauding them for the obstacles they overcome. But I want to close because I'm so impressed. Let's applaud them for what they're going to do in the future. Thank you.
Also, I just have to say, as a parent, who said disappoint your parents? Love it. I love it. I do. I understand it. We have some really exciting news. We're going to be back here next year to celebrate another cohort of CELP Scholars. We're excited to announce that October 11th, applications will open for the 2025 cohort of CELP Scholars. So we continue to get involved, we continue to be inspired, and all of the scholars that we heard from today, you get to come back as alumni and continue the cycle. So we're excited to announce that. So keep track. Yeah. To do a lot of wonderful things this morning, and we want to make sure that we're doing them. So on the back of everybody's name tag is a QR code. Scholars, alumni, hold off on yours because we have some more things happening later. But I'm speaking specifically to the high school students. I am beyond inspired and impressed that you decided to spend Saturday morning with us here at the Aquarium. We would love to hear what you took away from this. So we're going to ask that you complete a survey. We're also going to feed you while you do it to hopefully make you nice and happy. In just a couple minutes, I'm going to have you head out the back of the theater. We have Shauna back there. Shauna's going to wave. You're going to head towards the back of the theater, and you're going to head up to a space at the Aquarium called our veranda. We have lunch up there, and we would like to ask you to complete the survey. Once you do, you're going to show proof of that completion. You'll have a screen on your phone that will show, yes, you completed the survey. Show it to Sam or Shauna back there. They will be up on the veranda with you. Show that screen to them, and they have a little prize incentive treat for you to take home a little momentum, okay? I also want to say one more thank you to our online audience. Thank you to anyone watching us online or watching this in the future. Hope it's great there. And again, one more big round of applause for all of our scholars. Enjoy lunch. Thank you so much for being here.